You're on camera. Say something.
Last night and night before, there was 3 women walking down the street that way. I saw them. I said, hey, you 3 women, why are y'all walking down the street that way? There's nothing down there. And they flew away. I saw them with some birds.
Remember, kids, no matter how long the fight takes, villains never win.
amigo, la harza min book.
Aguante Blancanía, guacho.
Took a little bit of ice, a little bit of strong. Did that?
VIP 房同卡拉 OK，
咁抵食，
全天供應添。
乳鴿都只係$16.99。
千里小炒王有4間。
People, I need to show you something here. Why I married the best woman in the whole world. She made a giant metal T-Rex. She welded this shit. Her name is Regina, by the way. Look at this. I mean, look. Look at the detail. Look at the eye. Look at how beautiful that is. This thing's like 6 feet tall. My wife welded a giant metal Tyrannosaurus Rex. If I had known that one day I would marry a woman who could weld a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex, I don't know what I would do. Like, as a kid, I just don't know how I would process that information. This is the coolest thing in the world, and my wife is the best. That's all I gotta say. That's all.
Let me guess, Tiny, a small salad?
Kakaroto.
We serve food here, sir.
I got it already, Squidward.
Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck-ups when you have tomorrow's fuck-ups to look forward to? You are a fuck-up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
خلاص خلاص
Don't wanna be a Netflix idiot. Dollar store wigs and streaming media. Dude, you can hear the sound of hysteria. The subliminal mindfuck Castlevania. Hey, Addy got the fake anime glow, calling Dante daddy on a WE show. Thought you could flex with your edgelord brand, but you filmed that Power Ranger stuff in the sand. This ain't anime, it's corporate crime. Got more cringe than your Castlevania lines. Welcome to the sellout parade, where the devil don't cry, he just gets played. It's not stylish, it's just sad. Your cosplay looks like a Facebook dad. WWE had to shout it loud, 'cause nobody's watching in the anime crowd.
If Cthulhu can be summoned by humans who are so far beneath it, why can't humans be summoned by ants? The answer is they should be. Well, if a bunch of ants formed a circle in my house, I'd certainly notice. Try to figure out where they'd all come from and possibly wreak destruction there. That's why knowing and correctly pronouncing the true name is so important to the ritual. Imagine how impossible it would be to not go take a look if the circle of ants started chanting your name. And they're like, you can't leave because we drew a line made of tiny crystals. Now you have to do us a favor. And you're like, well, let's just see where this goes. Yup, you got me. What's the favor? And usually the favor is like, kill this one ant for us, or give me a pile of sugar. And you're like, okay. And you do, because why not? It isn't hard for you, and boy is this going to be a fucking story to tell, these fucking ants chanting your name and wanting a spoonful of sugar or whatever. And sometimes you get asked for things you can't really do. One of them, she's like, I love this ant, but she won't pay any attention to me. Make me important to her. And you're like, how? So you just kill every ant in the colony except the two of them. Ta-da! Problem solved. And the first ant is like, horrified whisper, what have I done? This is the best explanation for higher powers I've ever really heard.
I was not very steeped in the comics.
I didn't read any comics or do any research.
I wasn't familiar with the comics. I wasn't familiar with the movies.
We didn't lean into a whole lot of the history of the comic books.
Yeah, candidly, we were not enormous comic fans.
I wasn't super into superhero comics when I was a kid. I read a lot of like indie press stuff.
First thing I was told is don't read the comics.
Really?
As a creator, they put you in a bubble. They don't let you talk about any of the other projects, right?
You know, they're up for anything.
We ultimately decided to redefine it for the series and thought that it worked better for the story that we're trying to tell.
Did you ever read you've never read the comic?
When the DVD comes out, I'm going to read a Thor comic book and just see where we went wrong.
Could be Trump. Yeah. Trump. Oh yeah. Trump. 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 Could be Trump. Yeah. Trump. Oh yeah. Trump.
Mama, we must run. The Wendigo Yakuza are here.
We'll be okay. We're not alone.
Where did we park for there?
Cider took it to deliver those flowers.
You all don't stand a chance. Underneath the moon's cold light, whispers linger in the night. Shadows dance with subtle grace. Secrets hide in every space. Velvet skies and sapphire dreams. Cities pulse, electric beams. Lonely hearts in shadowed bars. Fading tales beneath the stars. We dance in twilight's tender glow, where time moves soft and slow. Eyes meet in a silent song, in the night where we belong.
You know, I don't know if this is real or not, but I really hope it is. And here to discuss the validity of this discovery with me is the lovely Miss Nerdigans. Hi.
Hi. Wait, oh, there we go. Hi. Well, I mean, Saudi Arabia is getting like a Dragon Ball amusement park, so nothing is impossible anymore. Like, seriously.
Yeah, the Saudi prince is apparently pretty based, so Apparently. Just having a McDonald's follow the president of the United States around. It doesn't get any more American than that. Apparently, Miss Nerdigans is on a delay.
I am?
Nope. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't. Anyway, speaking of good Americans, we've also got RJ McReady here. He says, I'm happy to see that Druckmann, he says, I'm glad that everyone sees Druckmann and Naughty Dog are exposed to normies. Yeah, well, they're going to get a face full of it. That's for sure. These guys are planning to do everything they can to get all kinds of sympathy points.
Well, the real mastermind, the mastermind behind Naughty Dog, the woman behind Naughty Dog, well, she's working on, what was the game? Marvel, the other Marvel game that's coming out. She is working on that instead. I can't remember the name. Rise of Hydra. There we go. She's working on Rise of Hydra.
Oh.
So that game should probably, yeah, that game, well, it could be good. There's potential she's working on it, but
keep your French fries crossed, I guess. But we have Sakura Mita here saying, I'm finished my work. Hope you understand and read my Pretty Cure comments. That's right, Spencer. Apparently you goofed a comment about Pretty Cure, and we're going to hear all about it when Spencer shows up a little later. Right now, he's tidying up a few stories over on boundingintocomics.com. That's right. We have a website. It's not just a YouTube channel. Check it out over there. Latest news, what's going on, what's happening in comics, in entertainment media, and I'll spit it out eventually, video games too. And we also have from Facebook, we have Giuseppe Ricobano here. Not sure. I don't think this fella liked the intros. I'm not sure he liked the intros. Well, we're always trying to improve things around here and make sure the folks enjoy it. So just let us know if the intros didn't work for you. We like to make sure that people have time to get in here. So the intro runs for a little while, sort of like how other streamers have about a half an hour of stuff just playing for a while there while folks come in and take a looky-loo and decide if they... What's that?
it's probably, to Green Raccoon's question, it could be both. It could be both a little bit of a shitpost stream. You just watch and find out.
Yeah, you never know what we're going to run into here. But anyway, we also have Pat Star here saying, hail. So hail to you. Welcome aboard. And we have Frag Monkey here saying, sup, motherfuckers. Hope you're all well. Well, we're on 2 feet, and apparently there's a McDonald's truck following the president around. But you know who's not doing too well right now? That would be Mr. Sean Diddy Combs. You can see the lack of baby oil, man. That guy, that's just 6 months. He aged like 20 years. Yeah, it's like it says right here. He aged like 20 years in 6 months. Look at that.
He must have been dropping the soap a lot.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if that ages that fast, but holy cow. Like, that's what the baby oil was doing for him, and some Rogaine, apparently.
And some hair dye.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't expect you to know what Rogaine is.
Well, Rogaine's a little bit different than like just regular hair dye.
Oh, like that Halloween stuff? Just doing like topping it off there before you go out and greet the cameras?
Well, maybe.
But yeah, we're waiting to find out what happens to Diddy. And as you can see here, it's not going too well for him. It's not going too well. Yeah, he's down 2 quarts of baby oil, just like they said right here. Exactly. That just goes to show. Yeah, it's adrenochrome. Well, we all know what they mean by baby oil now, don't we? We all know what they mean by that. But also, we had a big reveal here. I'm sorry, I'm just a little out of step because we have great news. Kersha has been released from Vice's grip, if you will.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear that because Kersha's been like dealing with a literal harassment campaign, so to speak. You thought what Brutus was dealing with was bad. Like, this was nasty. I mean, I think they're still losing sponsorships. And the thing that's frustrating, no, I'm talking about outside of Vice. They lost a couple of sponsorships. Oh. But yeah, they still have to deal with Sportskeeda and Stealth Optional. But yeah, I think it's so funny that Vice, of all things, even though like after all the fuckery that has happened with Vice, they still are pulling these stunts. It's like, dude, you are just a glutton for punishment.
Well, and if you're not familiar with what's going on, Kersha made a post a little earlier today letting everybody know that the Vice articles have been taken down after Vice made a very vocal declaration that they were going to support Anna Valens. That's right. This was a individual who was not in touch with reality and had some very colorful plans about what to do with women in the future. To be abundantly clear, this person had a breeding fetish and had plans of how to use Kickstarter to fund shady operations that house these breeding fetish farms, I guess, is what they were describing. So, yeah. It was
Well,
quite
we're talking
a
about the same vice that considered pedophilia as sexuality. So, like, I don't know why people are surprised by that.
again, like it takes all colors of the rainbow, apparently. Takes all colors of the rainbow. But as you can see right here, this article that was accusing her of pushing the great replacement theory, that's gone. As you can see right here, the accusing her and other VTubers of pushing bigotry, that's gone. And an article accusing well, rather that Vice, the Waypoint, the company that owns Vice, saying that they're going to stand with native aliens. Well, that's over with now. So there you go. That's what all that activism gets you at the end of the day, is it just simply sets you back to square one all over again. Because when it comes down to it, Kersha and her sponsors can do what they want. So if what happened with this, if you don't know, to rewind, we have a button for this. Hold on just a second. We have a button. We have a button, guys. We have a button. I just have to find it. Ooh, rare button, right? Rare button. Anyway, what happened with this is that about a month ago, a little less than a month ago, Kersha came under fire from Vice, beginning with this article right here about the great replacement theory. That came out trying to pitch her as some kind of alt-right maniac, that's kind of thing that's completely stilted against rational thought, basically. And so this triggered a bunch of people reaching out to her sponsor, her game sponsor, which was crime boss Roque City. And so Roque City, upon seeing the heavily edited clips of her making jokes during her stream, reading super chats, which of course are paid chats as whatever Twitch does to whatever that works. Anyway, she was basically being edited out of context to sound incredibly insane. And so Roque City didn't dig any further than that and ended their partnership with her. Okay. Next, these harassers decided to go after U2s and gamer subs. This belongs to Jay Schlatt, if you're familiar. Mr. Schlatt and his Miracle Kitty, Jambo. I'm sorry, I get around the internet. I get around the internet. But anyway, Mr. Jay Schlatt decided to not heed these problems. And as far as I know, he is still with Kersha. She may have stopped her sponsorship with them, but I don't believe that Mr. Schlatt has ended his sponsorship with them. He's on the edge. He's one of these young guys I think he's in his late 20s, and he's one of those New Yorkers that's kind of like, what are you going to do about it? So he has his line where he doesn't want to provoke people, but Schlatt is one of those guys that's like, what are you going to do? I'm on the internet. You're going to come to my house and do something about this? And that's Schlatt's attitude, is like, what are you going to do? It's the internet. And that's kind of makes you impervious to these weird brigades.
Yeah, I could see that because I have family from like New York and New Jersey. My dad's side of the family in particular. And yeah, when you're from like New York and from Philly and from like Boston, they don't give a fuck. They really don't. If you're trying to like pull the cyberbully stunt, they don't care. They're just like, yeah, you want to try something? Come over here and actually fight me, and they'll fight with you. They ain't afraid to go down like that.
Well, and again, like that's why gamer subs didn't fall to this. And when they went after U2s has a short-term contract. They don't do revolving contracts. They say, hey, we've got this neat toy that we can make in your image, and we can put that out and we can sell it together, and then it's over with. Well, apparently they missed the window to kill that contract with U2s by about 3 weeks. So tough luck, Dumbo. But that's what ended up happening here, is that all this activism ended up basically boiling away Anna Valen's like social credit, if you lack for a better term, with Vice. And they retracted even their statement of support from this person now. So couldn't happen to a better weirdo, I guess.
Yep.
But that's what's going on with Kershaw right now. So expect several victory laps. I expect Asmongold to get this news within a week. It's usually what happens to him. It takes him about a week to find out. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to go, well, there it is. And that's there you go. That's going to be the grand Asmongold take of it. That's the new meme going around, is that he's like an NPC that has like 5 different phrases that he says to everything.
I don't watch Asmongold or a lot of these streamers. So I'm just like whatever about it. Same with VTubers. Like VTubers, I'm like in and out of the loop because my friends watch VTubers. I just never really got into it. I don't like, I watch YouTubers, sure, but I just never, I know it's weird, right? Because I'm a manga anime girl, but like, I've never gotten into the whole VTuber thing.
I'll let you know. I'm not like in it. I have a casual interest in it. It's mainly because of the personalities behind the characters, not the characters themselves. But I come from a group of people like you do, where anime is a show, not a live streaming event. So you get a little lost after a while, you know?
Yeah.
So, but again, this is us showing our age. VTubers are very popular. And of course, I'm still trying to wrap my head around esports. Okay. So I'm obviously not the demographic VTubers are pitching to, unless you're at a Dodgers game, by the way.
Yeah.
But speaking of being into anime, and as Nerdigan's case, it being an anime girl, you have here this information from Kimetsu no Yaiba going on here with Demon Slayer.
Yeah, so basically what happened is someone leaked out one of the trailers for the upcoming Infinity Castle, the first of 3 parts for Infinity Castle. And yeah, Japan is really strict on that stuff. And the thing is that thanks to how the West is, we don't get a lot of stuff like this outside of Japan. Like France will probably get more of it. I'm surprised France didn't get anything like this. But like this was specifically strictly for like Japanese theaters. And Japan like takes this stuff really, and I'm not just talking about lawmakers and whatnot. I'm talking about like actual Japanese people, the citizens themselves, like really take this seriously. What's interesting is I was looking through the comments and the QRTs to see what was going on. And there is like a huge cultural clash going on in there. And one of the things I saw, and I just couldn't believe it, was one person was using as an argument to defend piracy. He was saying, and I've seen a couple of it, like a couple of comments like this too, where they were saying, oh well, Japan allows pedophilia, but like piracy is not okay. Like, how about you get rid of pedophilia first? They're talking about pedophilia is when drawing, and then worry about piracy. I'm like, really? You're gonna do that? And
that's the whole I don't like pancakes. Oh, that means you hate waffles thing again.
Yeah. And it's just like, when I see stuff like that, I'm just thinking, okay, these got to be the shonen tards. They got to be the mainstreamers.
Tourists.
Yeah, they'd be tourists in this case. And the majority of Japanese people were just like, seeing this, they're like, God damn, you guys are entitled. You guys don't deserve anything. You guys, if anything, they're lucky they got leaks like this. And when
That's
I saw
right. We need to make anime rare again. That's what we need to do. Mara, make anime rare again.
Well, here's the thing is that, I'm part of like the leak culture and stuff like that. I try to avoid leaks when I can. There's a difference between like leaks in terms of manga. There's anime leaks I avoid like the plague. I don't need them. There's a difference between like leaks and scanlations. Leaks, those are like summaries and whatnot. And then there's scanlations where, it's the chapter translated. And the thing is like in the manga community, because a lot of titles are unlicensed, as long as they're not, it's not like, the translators are like paying for them. It's not, and it doesn't get really like scummy. There's like no money involved, and it's just the translators doing it because they love it. Like usually the publishers really don't care. They say they do, but for the most part, they don't care as much. They'll just, it's like a hush hush kind of thing. And the mangaka are usually fine with it as long as, when it does get licensed, that people support it. And usually the fans will do that. That's how it is in the manga community. The anime community, it's rough. It's usually the same thing. When leaks do happen, it's very much condemned in the anime community that at least I know of. And that if they happen, they happen. They're grateful for it for the most part. If it happens, it happens. But in this case, though, the way that how entitled people are coming off as is just unbelievable. It is. And people are not looking at the bigger picture of, oh, maybe it's because we're not getting anything because of how licensors are. Like, why are we not going to, in the case of Demon Slayer, why are we not going to Crunchyroll? Why are we not going to, well, in this case, because of what's happening with like Toho,
yep.
And other studios, they are frustrated with Crunchyroll. They want to like disassociate themselves from there. So G-Kids has been getting the licenses for a lot of movies, like even Jujutsu Kaisen. I was surprised by that. Like Dandadan was one thing, which again I was surprised by, but Jujutsu Kaisen, like yeah, that's when you know that yeah, these studios are disassociating themselves from Crunchyroll. But yeah, like you go take it up with them. Don't go directly attacking the studio because you can't get your anime. No, take it up with the Western licensors. And also don't be a dick about it.
That's a good one right there. We have Black Pilled Timon, Meteor Advocate, member of the channel, saying Crunchyroll sucks. And they're absolutely correct on that one. He's nailed that one. Slam dunked it. Because again, Crunchyroll leads to problems like this. The argument for cutting off internet for repeated piracy. You have Sony Music rather, and more saying the law is clear that the Supreme Court intervention is not necessary. And so, yes, this does mean anime piracy. And so if they decide that you have been pirating and distributing pirating material, probably more over distributing it than getting it yourself, they'll shut your internet off. They don't even have to ask the Supreme Court for permission. They just have to go to the ISP and produce the information and boom, you're done.
Well, that's illegal. SCOTUS will, how it would work, because not even the UN can intervene. Constitutionally wise, they can't intervene with shit. So Sony cannot do that because that is going through, and it's not just SCOTUS. You got to deal with the FCC on this as well, and they're not going to allow that either. So yeah, Sony could say it's SCOTUS. Not you're dealing with the FCC, and the fact that they got rid of net neutrality, yeah, they're going to say no on that too. So Sony, what you're doing is illegal.
Well, and again, piracy is defined as policy infringement, not theft, and so it goes back and forth on how we're going to interpret the law about this. But I do believe that shutting people's internet off is definitely a communication issue.
Which would be FCC.
Right. But I wanted to go back into the First Amendment. I'm not sure that is at all a way that law can be applied. Because when you go, it's like shutting off someone's phone because they crank call people a lot, right?
Yeah.
It costs money. It costs money to call the ambulance service and annoy them. You know, it can endanger lives doing that. And that shutting off someone's phone for that is dangerous. Granted, the internet is not as a high necessity as a phone, but the internet has become an integral part of how people communicate, sometimes even order food. And so we really venture into a dangerous place when we start saying we're going to shut your internet off because you're distributing pirated music too much. You got a LimeWire program or Morpheus-like program, Kazaa, if you remember what that was.
Yep.
You got all those. Yeah, exactly. You got all those on your computer. Well, you're screwed. Your internet's being shut off forever now.
It's called
I
VPN.
really don't know.
They're not going to stop VPNs. Like there's that too.
The VPN can't get around the ISP not sending a signal to your house. That VPN has to have a signal to connect to, be it through the wall, coming from, fully wirelessly. That's the hiccup. You can hotspot on your phone, but they can always go after the phone company and say to shut off your hotspot.
But yeah, for the most part, I think what Sony's doing is illegal. The FCC will shut it down. SCOTUS will definitely shut it down too. Both will. Like Trump, I know people are going to be like, well, executive order, blah, blah. No, you don't need an executive order for something that the FCC, which again, completely reversed net neutrality, for fuck's sake. They will shut this down. Sony will not get away with it. FCC will not allow that at all. And
Now,
SCOTUS will not allow it either.
To my knowledge, Sony Music is in the USA. I believe Sony Group itself is in
Sony
Japan.
Group is Japan. Yeah.
So I believe Sony Music is in the USA and under a USA brand, maybe?
No, I don't think so. Sony Interactive, yes. Sony Interactive is in the US. Sony Music is in, I believe, Japan because
okay. All right, RJ, you had it right.
Let me double check. But I think Sony Music is in Japan because that's where Pal World was collabing with. Let me see if I'm right on this. But yeah, that's what I believe anyway.
There's just they're very worried about the piracy issue because it chiefly interrupts the ability to charge people for a streaming service, a subscription to a streaming service. It flatly defeats it, and that's this is why the big rush is happening now on a lot of this stuff, is because they want to sell you a subscription to manga access. They want to sell you subscription to anime access, all that stuff. And so they're rushing out here to scare everybody away from doing piracy. So that way they don't have to worry about the competition. I still wonder, like, why don't you just run the pirate sites, guys? Why don't you just do it yourself? Lower the quality on the stuff you upload on there, pretend to be anonymous doing it yourself, and then that way you have the control of what's being pirated. It just makes more sense to me. It's like why we created the dark web, right? So that way the FBI could move around without being seen, because a bunch of weirdos trying to buy hitmen services are moving around there too. And that, own the piracy site, Sony. That way you know what's being pirated. You literally can see how many downloads are on that pirated thing.
Wait, what Sony Music is it? Does it just say Sony Music Entertainment or Sony Music Entertainment Japan? Because that would make it
Music. They don't. This is from Anime Corner.
From Anime Corner.
They don't.
It doesn't specifically say it. Yeah, that's a problem because there's Sony Music. There's Sony Music Group, and then there's Sony Music Entertainment. Because if it's Sony Music Group, then that's Japan.
Right.
If it's Sony Music Entertainment, then that is that's American.
And Timon says here, he says, as long as the internet provider and the content provider are not the same company, they can't do shit.
They can't do
We'll just
shit.
swing it.
Yeah.
We'll just swing it. Can't do shit. It's one of I just don't know how YouTube deals with this anymore, because we got anime on the screen. I don't know if the COPPA laws are gonna come through and give us trouble. I'm paranoid, you know.
Yeah.
If they do, they can do shenanigans till the user goes to court. Again, like, I think this is more of a stunt to try and scare people. They'll find somebody who's like super prolific in it, some dirt bag that also has stuff that's real sketchy in his data banks. That way they've got an easy target, and they can tag on that piracy thing when he's already going to go to jail. So that way they'll scare people.
Napster. What they're trying to do is Napster all over again, basically. And Napster survived for a while, if I remember correctly, and then eventually it went down.
Well, and Illustrator here with the KFC bucket, grilled, by the way, nice choice. The points out very important thing. You create a taboo Streisand effect around this now.
Yep.
Rather than pursuing it quietly with the due legal services that are available to you to do something about it, you're going out and making a huge stunt about it, which is going to encourage rather a bunch of people to go out and do this.
Well, here's the thing, and as I said with the manga community, this is what we've done. As long as you're not making money off of it, the pirate site, as long as they're not making any money off of it, then why do you care? If they're starting to profit from it, then that's where usually that's what Shueisha and Kodansha like go in on, is they go on like the pirate site operators that are and that's how they get busted, is when mofos are starting to profit from it. But the Sony that you're thinking of that moved its HQ to the US is you're thinking of Sony Interactive. You're not talking about Sony Group, and you're not talking about Sony Music Entertainment has always been in the US.
Okay.
But
All right, so that's a
Sony
US
Group, if anything that says Sony Group is in Japan.
Okay.
Anything that does not say Sony Group is in the US. There's
So
a
there you
huge
go.
difference.
So this right here is a US company that's going out there and wreaking havoc on this. So we're in that, like I just said, with the thing, like here's why they have a problem with it though, Nerdigans, is that let's say that 1,000 people go and see that pirated thing. Not a big deal. 10,000 people, not a big deal. 100,000 people, now we have a problem. This is make or break for movie tickets, having 100,000 people show up.
Yeah.
And that's their big hiccup with this. And that's why I say control the pirate sites. Because
there's also another thing too, and this is going back to the manga and anime example, with a lot of people, and technically movies they do this too, is that a lot of people watch or read some of this stuff, and as soon as it becomes available, because they like buying physical releases, they'll buy it. If they like it, they'll buy it. Problem is that, as I said, a lot of this stuff is not available, or if it is available, it's extremely expensive. Make it easily available and for a reasonable price, or in the case of like say anime, give a good reason to buy it. Like there's good good bonus features. There's really good aspect ratio on it, like with a good Blu-ray. So like it looks really good on your TV. Like give a good reason to buy it, and also good localization, because sometimes like the localization is really bad. And it's like and also make it uncensored, because otherwise, like why buy a censored product? People are not going to buy a censored product.
Not only that, but we're also like we're trying to incentivize people who don't want to pay for this to begin with.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of fighting a losing battle. And so they don't want to pay for a subscription service. They don't want to go through setting up an account, this sort of thing. And again, this is why I say own the pirate sites. Then you know how many people are going after Thor: The Dark World. Yeah, there's a callback for you, right? Then you know how many people are going after this kind of stuff, and you can start marketing to them through that venue. So you have up there a banner that shows up in there. It says, "Why pirate when you can own $1.99 full Tubi library?" Right? And again, I know Tubi's free, but I'm just using it as an example that like you've got a $1.99 library of movies that are 15 years old. And that's the line, is that every movie that's over 15 years old that belongs to this company is there. $1.99. Some people may go for that. And that's what they're missing. This thing is like what was quoted earlier from Gabe, the guy that came up with Steam, and of course can't count to 3, Gabe Newell. But he said it's a service issue. It's getting to people's threshold of entry is the hard part with this. And this, like I said earlier, is going to cause a Streisand effect, which will maximize the amount of piracy probably for the next 10 years.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, as I said, I've been part of this. I was part of the manga community and anime community. I've been part of it for a really long time, and I've seen piracy culture. And like something that I saw recently is that they're starting to crack down. Publishers are starting to crack down on certain communities because to stop leaks. Well, guess what? They're not going anywhere. They are just moving to a different site. So, like for example, when the stuff with Jujutsu Kaisen Kagurabachi went down, yeah, you got them off of Twitter, but they're not going anywhere. They just moved to Reddit. Blue Lock, they started cracking down on that on Reddit. Well, guess what? It's going somewhere else. It's not going away. So you can try all you want to, and same with the actual, like scanlations. You can try and crack down on it as much as you want, but it's still going to exist because not everyone can get access to it. But yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier about Toho and the anime streaming platform exclusives. Because content's not going to spread and will only be seen by those subscribers if it's monopolized by one platform. Well, yeah, not only that, it's going to be pirated anyway, because in the case of Crunchyroll, people don't like Crunchyroll's platform anyway. It's horrible. And I want to say this too. This happened with Kodansha. This happened with Kodansha ages ago. when because Crunchyroll treated them like ass, and this is actually the reason why you have K manga now. Part of the reason why, because Crunchyroll was it was Crunchyroll and Azuki that was part of the Kodansha Simulpub program. Then Crunchyroll treated Kodansha like shit, and then Kodansha was like, you know what? Screw this. We're gonna make our own. We're just make our own version of our Simulpub system that we have, which is Magapoke. Toho is basically doing the same thing where they're like, Crunchyroll is treating us like crap. Why are we exclusive with them when we could do our own thing and spread out? But the problem is that G Kids, who they're working with, I don't know if it's their fault. I don't know if it's the theater's fault or what.
Somebody's fault.
It's somebody's fault. There's still no marketing. There's the theatrical run is still like 2 or 3 days, and it's only like 1 or 2 screenings per day. So something is going on.
So like back with this though, is that as we were talking about piracy, this is one of the chief issues. Here's the thing that boggles my mind. So take for instance the Power Ranger brand. Okay, in Japan that's known as Super Sentai. Shout Factory has had the brain blast of putting most of their Super Sentai library available on a 24-hour rotating set of channels that play either all of one season or all of their available legal collection on that YouTube channel in a constant cycle. Okay, so that means you don't have to pay for it. You have to put up with YouTube's ads, but that's no different than sitting down and watching live television. So
well, it's the same. They're also on to keep it, just to remind you, because I mentioned it before, Power Rangers also has a channel on Pluto TV with the same exact thing, and also Sentai has their own channel as well on Pluto TV. So and it also has ads. So it's there, it's available, which is great. So it's just not advertised enough.
Here's a nutty thing, and I have no idea why Cartoon Network completely dropped this ball, but leave it up to them. They're spectacular at goofing things up. So take Toonami. Why do we not have Toonami as a Tubi-like platform? Why is that not like the place to go to watch old anime, old stuff that they have in their library licensing and stuff like that?
It's called
Why is
MeToons.
that?
It's called MeTV. I think it's either MeTV or MeToons.
It's still around?
Yeah, it's still around. It was supposed to be on Pluto TV already, but yeah, it exists.
Wow.
MeTV still exists. It has like all old school Hanna-Barbera on there. It's like that's supposed to be like basically Boomerang, from what I know.
Oh yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. Like it's like a Toonami thing. Like you could bring back Toonami Tom to be the mascot. He doesn't have to talk or anything like that. You just put like a picture, like the Crunchyroll girl. You don't need to have too much to this. And again, Toonami is timeless. You can always update the Tom character to make him look whatever you'd like. But this right here is the big issue. You can't have the subscriber part of this. Netflix gets away with it because Netflix was the first to start this, okay? It is part of Netflix is part of the language, the way that Kleenex is part of the language, the way that Q-tip is part of the language. People refer to things as a Netflix-like streaming service, like a rogue-like game, you see? Like a Souls-like game. It set the standard. Even Hulu can't compete with it.
I feel like Hulu could somewhat get away with it because it was one of the first ones as well. And same with that Amazon Prime. Those 3 are the only ones I feel like could get away with.
To tell you the truth, I'm gonna hit you with this one. I only think the only reason why Amazon Prime has anybody watching it is because it's free with your Prime membership. They honestly would not choose it because there's nothing there. Can you name me an Amazon Prime show other than The Boys that has done anything?
Besides the Miss Maisie, I can't remember. Driving with Miss Maisie, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
My parents loved that show.
Well, either way, Amazon is not as celebrated as a streaming content creator. Yeah, The Marvelous. There it is. The Marvelous.
Thank you. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Yeah, my parents love that show, but I think it's because
Fallout, you got me.
Fallout, thank you.
Yep.
But yeah, that's because because there's a lot of Jewish elements in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So yeah, of course my family's gonna like that show.
So to that regard, though, is that the subscriber thing only works when you're sort of brute forcing it. Netflix relies on being the bedrock of this whole thing. Amazon gives you a free membership to the damn thing. They can't get you into Max. They literally can't hold a gun to your head to watch Max. And
Well,
they're
it's
changing it
HBO
back to
Max
HBO
again.
Max. Yeah, again. We're for real this time, guys. And then Hulu is like, we have everything underneath the sun. Why won't you like us? You know, Disney Plus is practically the redheaded stepchild you beat in the middle of the night. It's really just there to be laughed at this point. Disney Plus is the joke of the century. I think people are this is going to be taught in economic classes in the future.
Yeah.
They're going to talk about Disney Plus and the myriad of mistakes that it made. Meanwhile, what it could be doing instead of having a subscriber situation is that it could be putting up its content over on YouTube, creating a Disney Plus channel that just does Disney shows all the time.
It could be putting it on Pluto. That's what all these things should do, is putting up, because Pluto is like a great competitor to YouTube, because YouTube otherwise is going to head into monopoly territory. But yeah, Pluto's just a great. I really love Pluto. I've been using Pluto TV for like 6 years now, and I love it. Love Pluto.
Ultimately, like you're talking about right now, the big mistake was stratifying the streaming services. What we all were told and we all saw coming was the like cableification of streaming, where we all had to have different streaming services in order to watch the shows we wanted to watch. And as a result, we ended up having cable all over again. And so YouTube functions as that overall thing. I've said this before on the channel that Disney would have been smarter to go to Netflix and say, give us our own category with a blue button. That way it contrasts against the rest of your red and black out layout, you know? And that would have made a big difference, because then Disney would have had its own drop down with its own categories and had its own like control over that library. And Netflix would have been free to fuck off, do its own thing. But here we are.
I think Disney Plus could have worked if they actually had all of their content on it. They don't have all of their shows on it. They don't have all of their movies on it. And that's why it fails. That's why it's failing.
Well, and that's what it is that these paid services are going to die very quickly. I'm not even sure Netflix is going to be able to keep it on now that they've done this WWE deal. They're going to have to really give in to the ad thing. They're already doing that with the WWE thing and a couple of other programs. So you're stuck having regular live television again, guys. This time you got to pay premium for it. At least it's in 4K, you know? You can see the head-on applied directly to your forehead commercials.
Anime is keeping the bills on. Anime is keeping the lights on over at Netflix now, because they're getting really good stuff over there.
The shittiest thing I have seen come out of them, like the shittiest thing I've seen so far that they've done, or rather not done, is they haven't done a live action adaptation of Seven Deadly Sins. Hello?
Oh, no, don't punish. Nakapa's already been punished enough, okay? Like
I thought he'd get the One Piece treatment, where like Eskimo.
No, he would not. No,
trans black woman.
Here's the only reason. Like, this is probably why Nakaba won't get a live action, is because the idiot Westerners who can't separate fiction from reality call it the Seven Deadly Pedos. And the thing that's funny about it is, in the sequel, Four Nights of the Apocalypse, one of the main characters is a lesbian. So you have your rep there, you do, but you won't watch it or read it because
where's the child abuse in Seven Deadly Sins?
There's a lot. There's actually child abuse in Four Nights of the Apocalypse. But
I don't doubt that, but I don't remember. I don't remember Seven Deadly Sins having anything remotely close to CSAM going on in it. Merlin's thousands of years old. She's the only one with her boobies hanging out.
Yeah, and the Natsu no Tazai, they're all adults, and Merlin can turn into a child. And the version of, the Merlin equivalent of in Four Nights of the Apocalypse, Gwen is actually the one that's a lesbian and can turn into, she is a lolly and a mommy muscle in one character, or in a muscle mommy in one character. There we go. That's the right word.
So like
Toph. I love her. She could get bigger than Toph. She is taller and she is really, really muscular, but she doesn't look like a man. She's actually really feminine looking in her muscular form, which is really awesome. I love her.
Do you think Russia would ban that as part of their anime figure statue ban?
They totally would.
Damn it.
They totally would. They
So,
they don't like her.
if
They
you
probably
guys don't know, Russia's on a purity streak again. Last time they went after the cam girls. Make of that what you will. I'm not a fan of that style. You know, Andrew Tate's one of those guys that gets away with a lot of those kinds of abuses and stuff. They were pretty brutal about it. You've probably seen the videos go around of the Russian special police breaking into these women's homes, or rather their performance spaces, and quite literally dragging them out mid-performance. So this is very serious. The Russians are not kidding around. They will come into your home. They will take your anime statues. They will break them in front of you. It's not a joke. They'll probably whip you for it too. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's a guy with the Russian police that just walks around with a whip. It's not just one guy. Like every group of them has like one guy with a whip. They whip you in Russia.
I mean, you're talking about the same country that had the KGB over there, home of the KGB. Why are you surprised?
Well, again, like I just wanted to believe that the Russian Federation wasn't the Soviet Union with a color palette shift. You know, I just wanted to hope that like maybe Putin was like, yes, anime girl is good. Makes you think of woman. Yes, good. Touch the statue, touch the boobie, make babies. I thought that's what would happen, but no. Nope, they're gonna get rid of the anime figurines.
And it's all because of the kids. And I'm just like, and you have the puritanical right praising this too. And it's like, dude, these people that you are praising are commies or commie light.
The return of the
people you
Soviet
hate.
Union, yeah.
These are people you're supposed to hate, and you're praising them. The fuck is wrong with you?
Well, again, this is kind of that back and forth about what is decent, what is indecent, what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, because we're entering an era now where Hollywood and media around the world, mostly in the West, has really pushed the envelope on what people want to see. You know, it's not that we want to see that we're going to get there like excited like it's a monster truck rally, but things that people are not forced to avert their eyes away from. Let's put it that way. A lot of folks are very tired of it. And what's happened is now we've had a massive overcorrection. Like this right here is a massive overcorrection to the degeneracy of the West. And that's what this is this is Putin taking a look at these statues and saying, well, if you're touching statue, you're not touching girls. So we will get rid of statues, so you will touch girl. And that's the logic he's applying to this. Like, you will be so sex-starved, you will go out and touch girl, not statue. Risey's going to be pissed if you know who that is. There's a very slim part of this audience who knows who that guy is, okay? And they're laughing their ass off right now. But this also leads us into the new big problem that's happening here in the United States. Senator Mike Lee has been a fellow that's on one side or the other of the purity argument, usually on the side of control, rather than trying to urge people to have their own self-control. And so thanks to Niche Gamer also reporting on the Russian thing, we also have Republican senator introduces a bill to define obscenity may pose a risk to video games and certain anime.
And this is coming off the heels of the whole thing in Texas. And from what I understand, the bill is stalled. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But people are in denial that that bill in Texas is going to affect anime and manga and video games. It's like, dude, you did not read the bill. It's not just AI. It said specifically it's going after fiction. People are so dumb. I mean,
and this is where we find ourselves. The obscenity law. I'm sorry, I have a group of dentists exercising their motorcycle rights right now. They'll go by any minute now. But I think they're gone. But if you don't know, bikers aren't really that dangerous anymore, at least not where I live. They're mostly dermatologists and dentists that retired and decided they wanted to be badasses, and that's what they do. So anyway, it's bizarre. It really is. Anyway, this right here, what we're going to run into very quickly is the definition of obscenity. And they've made it clear as far as legal terms goes. This is based off of California's Miller test. And so what they're trying to specify are things that are made explicitly for sexual gratification, just to kind of cut that rate slim. If this is deemed, this is the tricky part. Who decides what is sexual gratification and what is meant for entertainment to be risque. Meaning, when we see the full-on sex scenes in Game of Thrones, where we see someone orally pleasing someone in a, what was this other show that was recently doing this? I forget which one it was. There was some show that had a blowjob right in the foreground. But this stuff is going to be the subject of the conversation. Anime that features characters. I would say Dragon Maid has a couple of scenes that they would probably be aghast at as far as what they
Oh,
decided.
please put them on. Takabine-san would definitely be one of them.
Yeah, and that's what it is too. The My Dress Up Doll would probably
My Dress Up Darling, yeah.
Yeah, My Dress Up Darling would probably venture into some of that, maybe not directly, but there would be people who might interpret the scenes where she's changing as an effort to be sexually explicit. So what we're trying to explain here is that as a whole, this is an even better example. There's an incredibly uncomfortable scene in Digimon Frontiers. I know you all know what I'm talking about. It's when Zoe, the blonde girl that turns into Zephyrmon, an equally sketchy character design, by the way, for a 13-year-old girl to be changing into. But there's one particular scene where she is removing her top. And it makes it as far as like her lower sternum, because she's a young girl. Obviously, she's not going to be falling out of her top. So they stop the shot right there. However, it is implied that the boys are in the presence of her and are shocked of her feminine features upon her revealing them to them. And so, of course, this episode would have to be cut out completely. I don't think they take out the series itself, but if that episode was nestled in with something very plot important, that's gone. It's gone. And excuse me, I don't mean to keep slapping that. But what I'm trying to stress is that this obscenity law really ends up in the same situation we're going to run into with the Texas law of who decides where the problem is. Where is the line and who decides it?
But it's not just, I feel like it's more than just sexual, though. It's at some point, it's going to be more than just sexual. Or just like sexual acts. There's also like just gay people existing in media because we're dealing with religious people here in power.
And that, RJ McReady says, it's as if the right sees the left imploding and said, we need to implode faster. Yeah, hold my beer. Yeah. And again, like we're looking at this overcorrection. And what I have to stress is that like the most recent example I have is the Olympics performance in France. A lot of buttons were pushed through that. Take whatever angle you'd like. Just about everybody walked away with a sour taste in their mouth over it. Some people didn't, but most folks found fault in some part of it or another, or perhaps the whole. And so this is not directly a reaction to that isolated incident, but as a whole of cultural experimentation, this response right here is a result of that push for sexual enlightenment. And so here we are with now Mike Lee introducing a bill that says enough. If it is designed to sexually gratify people, it cannot be distributed as regular media. It must be defined as pornography. And yeah, I don't know who's going to decide this. I don't know who's going to come through and say, okay, that sex scene in Game of Thrones is not okay, so we delete that episode. Do they come through and say that Sex in the City is too scandalous because of the conversation that's happening in it? Is there too much leading dialogue, perhaps too much implied nudity? Where's the line? You don't have a consistent enforcer because you're going to end up creating committees to decide this stuff. And those committees are going to have people shift in and out of them as they win and lose elections. As the parties have majority and minority power, there will be no consistent application of this because it's not as simple as saying, show your ID to see this. It's not that simple. They have to decide what you have to put behind that beaded curtain to begin with, because it's not explicitly, Pikachu goes to Texas, Pikachu goes to Bangtown. It's not as explicit as that. It can be like that Digimon episode that gets way too close to the line.
But the other thing that's very dangerous and scary about this is that what the title of the bill is, it says a bill to define obscenity for purposes of the Communications Act of 1934 and for other purposes. Like, what are the other purposes for this? Is it just like what? What is he trying to define as obscene? Is he just talking about like current media? Is that what he's talking about for other purposes? Like,
to be honest,
what?
I want to tell you that his goal is to make sure that stuff where music performers are doing these very explicit performances, those will probably be hammered down, like that time Lizzo was going around with the big green strap on to the front of her. Probably that kind of media will be discouraged. That time that Tucker Carlson decided to stand naked in front of a penis warmer. We still don't know why he did that, but he did that with the sunset behind him. And I am still wondering why that exists as media on this planet. But here we are. And that, again, that could be deemed as sexually arousing. This is where the line starts to blur, especially what happened with that Texas law, where it was sort of like, bam, anything we decide is sexually explicit, we're going to remove, and with extreme prejudice. So that's what he means. He's going to expand that into music videos. It's not going to be just anime. It's going to be concerts, any media that is going out there and pushing the line of what would be considered civil expression.
But the thing is that people also need to understand is because it's an overreach of power, SCOTUS will totally shut it down. It's not going to happen. And also it's like, you have Trump in power. There's no way in hell Trump will allow that to pass. He will veto it. Do you not know who Donald Trump is? Do you not remember what he has owned? He owned one of the biggest pageants in the country.
Yeah, the Miss Universe.
Yeah, or in the world, I should say, because it's Miss Universe. Like, are you freaking out of your mind?
When we say Miss Universe, it's like the World Series. We don't invite anybody else. It's just us. That's what we mean by Miss Universe, is that yeah. But anyway, you're right about that. And again, Donald Trump has a history of, running very close to what is socially acceptable. So what I have to point out, though, is that this is going to go through revision. So it might find its way to being watered down to the point where a Janet Jackson incident that is meant to happen. Like, let's say that Janet Jackson deliberately set that up with Justin Timberlake. You remember when he ripped it off and everybody saw her boobie? That situation went down because that was not planned, obviously, and he ripped that off, though somehow it was quick rip, right? Somehow. I don't know too many bra pieces that come ripping out real easy, but who knows? So let's say that was done on purpose, though, and it was revealed to the FCC that it was. Thus, the intent was to expose a woman's, what's considered a sexual part of the body, to people who were not planning on seeing that. Thus, this would infract on that law. And I have a feeling that's what it'll end up being, is that it will get passed because, like I said, this is going to be that way overcorrected thing, but it'll be very watered down to like,
I still
is
think
there
Trump
a
is going to
penis?
veto it.
Well, he's going to, I don't know, because what he wants to do is he wants to make sure that media is not promoting naked penis, naked boobies, naked vagina. Up to that point, like you remember Baywatch, they were doing everything but falling out of those uniforms, okay?
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be fine with that. But it's when Pamela Anderson is falling out of that top, and that's on, primetime television, that's where he'll draw the line. Because even he wouldn't cross that with the apprentice.
But then that law already exists, and that would just be adding on to it. Like, that's
I think that's the point, is to add on to it, though, because again, we have to clarify, you can't walk around with a big glow-in-the-dark strap on the front of you at a media presentation. Probably not in public either. Probably want to discourage that on your regular Wednesday afternoon. But like I said, it'll be watered down. We won't get this 100% like anything with 2 inches of cleavage and anything with like a dick print is gone. That they're obviously not going to go that far. I'm gonna keep my French fries crossed on that one. But right now, I think it's going to get watered down to where they clarify that it doesn't matter where it happens, so long as it's considered media, you have to follow the 1938 laws, and it has to meet the Miller test. I do believe that's the point, is to bring the Miller test into federal application. So
I don't think it's either going to get vetoed or because I know how like judges like Justice Roberts work, it's going to be left up to the states.
I would hope so.
It should be left up to the states.
We're handing over education. I mean,
because that's like how it's always been. It's always been up to the states. Like, because that's federal overreach. And I think I think the judges, the justices, even though, so I know it's because of because it's Trump and whatnot, and this is why the liberal justices will be like this. They'll vote against it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure on how the conservative judges will vote on it, to be honest. I think because it's up to the states, it leaves it up to the states, and it's always been like that. It could possibly be unanimous. It could.
Well, and
That's
again, I mean,
I'm not sure.
I don't believe that Justice Thomas will vote in favor of ratifying a bill that would threaten someone's ability to be sexy on television or sexy in a beer ad. Because I just don't, again, Judge Thomas has made very direct decisions before, some that have been favored universally, some that have been universally disliked. But what he's erred on is people's ability to solve this on the state level. So you're right that they'll return this back to the state level, but more so on Justice Thomas's end, he's very concerned right now with, from what I can, again, what he's been ruling about and what he's been talking about and things like that, is he's very concerned with the cohesiveness of society. That's not great for a justice. I don't like that. But again, Justice Kagan follows this, and Sotomayor also follows this, where they take the temperature of the room and they say the law should apply this way. We have a previous standing. We will take this previous standing and apply it here. Make of that what you will. So in this regard, there was a question over what to do on a Supreme Court ruling about causing a riot. And it was reported by Sotomayor's, one of Sotomayor's people, illegally, that the justices were deliberating over whether or not their ruling would cause a riot and if that should impede their ruling. So this is where we're at right now in our justice system, is that our justices fear for their lives. And if you go telling people you can't see Lady Gaga with 3/10 of her like 3/4 of her boobs hanging out, that might piss off quite a few people. That might make them very angry to not be able to go to a concert with Lizzo waving a giant green dildo in their face. And that's the world we live in now, where people want to pay for that experience. That's their right. But what this bill is attempting to do is say, maybe we don't allow that. Maybe you have to go inside for that. Maybe that has to be an event that is marked clearly for adults.
But like, that's been the case anyway for the majority of this stuff. And it's always been up to, like, for certain things or for concerts that you would think would be for mainly adults. Parents take their kids anyway. You're just not going to stop them. That's why I'm like, I think even with the riot threats and whatnot, I think it's going, in this situation, it's going to be a unanimous vote where it goes back to the states. And that's up to the states to make up their own laws, because this would be, it just would be, and there's that. It would spin the face of Supreme Court precedent with Flint versus the United States. That's why I'm like, they're going to go based off that ruling. I think it's going to be unanimous, and because of that ruling.
Well, it depends, again, if they water it down or not. Because right now, as it's proposed, it sounds pretty, vague would probably be a good word. So again, as it gets watered down, it may just be improvements on when and where and how. And again, that's what the point of this is to be that overcorrection to these many years of people pushing buttons. And that's what happens, is that you get a rubber band effect happening here, where so much tension has been put on folks that don't want to look at Lizzo walking around with a dildo. And so why I'm bringing that up so much is that colors people's idea of this. That's what people think of when they think of, please let me have the things that this obscenity law is saying no to. And their mind doesn't go to anime characters who have big boobies. They don't go to Faye Valentine. They don't go to that Digimon episode that was really weird. They go to Lizzo with the dildo. And that's then they go, why would you want that? And that's
like, that's my argument, is like, well, why are you thinking about that? You don't have to go. Go do something else. This is my argument for a lot of stuff. As long as they're not doing anything illegal that's infringing on your freedom, who cares? They're doing this. People are paying to see this. It's in a public space. Well, it's in a private venue, mind you, and people are paying. They paid the private venue for it. Who cares? I was told. Here's a great example. Okay, I've had to deal with Jesus freaks before. And this is like back in 2008, I think it was. Yeah, 2007, 2008. I went to go see an Iron Maiden concert. And there was Jesus freaks outside of it telling people that they were going to go to hell if they went to see this concert. And and I was just like, dude, I'm a Jew. Your words do not affect me. I'm going to go to hell. By your logic, I'm going to hell anyway. So bye. And I just walked in anyway. Like, these people do not care. These people are just going to preach at you. And no matter what, they want you to live by their laws, by their order, by their rules. They do not care. They want to infringe on your rights. And they don't seem to understand what they're doing. They think that this is the American, to an extent, the American way. And it's like, no, this is not the American way. What you're doing is like literally against what America stands for. Just let people do what they want. As long as it's legal, let people do what they want. Just go do something else.
Well, and again, this is that overcorrection from letting people do what they want, and they went out and they started doing things that were incredibly offensive to a certain group of people in the country that have now found their way into power and don't want to see it anymore. So, like I said, the bill will be watered down if it gets any further than it already has. And as Timon pointed out already, the Texas law was blocked anyway. So the situation that you're kind of stuck with here is that there is an effort to try and cut down on these less than Disney Channel 1990s efforts of entertainment and more things that are R-rated, leaking out into the public. These things are going to continue to clash with each other as we go into the coming, I'd probably say the next decade, as people have now gotten the idea that, yes, we can use government power to fight each other. And now we're going to just have a bunch of that now. So for 4 years, it'll be bad. 4 years, it'll be good. 4 years, it'll be bad. 4 years, it'll be good.
Well, this has been happening since when? Like the 80s?
Oh no, golly. This is like 1910s. They started putting obscenity laws through in the States. Of course,
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about the cultural clash specifically between like these.
That's like the 20s is when that really got fired up.
Oh, that's you mean like the women's rights? Well, yeah.
No, a lot of occult stuff was going on in the 20s, and that fueled a lot of like the paranoia from the religious right, religious left on what was happening in that, and that started the feud of like anything that looks satanic has to be destroyed, and anything that remotely questions the authority of God must be destroyed, and that sort of back and forth was sort of born out of that. Because again, the 20s was when film was starting to get going. Media was being mass produced at that time, so we really didn't have any controls over it, and people were taking a lot of liberties with local shows. If you don't remember, way back in Times Square, you could go watch pornos. There was like this room where like there was a stripper in the middle, and you would sit in like this pie-shaped cubicle and jerk off. You see her through like a mail window, and just
Cider is completely right. But I will say for a second there, bud, when you were like, you could go watch a porno in Times Square, I was like, could you really in like 1915 watch like a porno on the big like giant? But maybe they weren't there in 1915, but that's what I was imagining. And then I was like, oh yeah, duh, the theaters.
They did actually have that way back in the day. You remember those cartoons where you'd see the guy lean down and he'd look through like a binocular thing poking out of the wall, and there'd be pictures inside? That's
Penny
what it
arcades,
was.
Yep.
That was a skin show. And you just go in there and you do like that. What was that thing we had as kids? Like the Viewmaster? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And that's what it was. You'd pay like a penny and you'd get like 30 pictures of some woman like waving her hip back and forth in sequential order. And you go, whoa.
That's actually where that term arcade came from, was those, because that's what you would go in the day to, a penny arcade, put your penny in. Sure, they had ones that were like, watch the boat go across the harbor, but a lot of them were that. So next time you guys go to the arcade, remember, Chun-Li and her skimpy outfits, that is true to the spirit of where you are. But also, hey guys, what's going on? What are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about the obscenity laws that's being
obscenity laws.
Yeah, by Senator Mike Lee. So like what the title of this law is wild. It's for like to clarify the obscenity laws for like the Communication Acts and for like of 1934 and for other purposes too. I'm like, what other purposes are you talking about?
Well, and I theorize that that was what mass media has evolved into. So they want to sit down and be specific about what you can show at like a concert with a big old mega
1000%.
view thing, and what you can show on streaming services, and like that. What show was it that had a blowjob in the foreground recently? It wasn't Game of Thrones. It was another one, right? Where like characters
Maybe?
were walking through in it was like some fantasy show. And
Oh,
so
I mean, I presumed it was. You said it was that in a modern TV show. It has to be fantasy.
yeah, well, so yeah, like that kind of stuff they probably want to answer to, because the obscenity law says that like things that are meant to cause like explicit sexual gratification are what they're defining here. And what I have a problem with is who decides that. You have a committee, like one set of 4 years, the committee is going to be on your side. Next 4 years, they're not. This guy loses an election, gets disbarred. All of a sudden, your rights to this stuff disappeared. What? It's not like flashing an ID card where there's a consistent response every time. You have to, like, I explained. You remember that Digimon Frontier episode where Zoe's changing in front of the boys?
Oh yeah,
and that God, it sticks out in everybody's head.
Yeah, of course
it. and that would be one where they would be like, "Whoops, that episode's gone." Or they ban the whole series being completely overreaction. Because again, Zoe transforms into an adult woman wearing a Victoria's Secret lingerie outfit. That's her first transformation. So it's one of those things.
Taking me back.
Right. Well, it's one of those things where like, where's the line? This is clearly not meant to sexualize Zoe. The character is an adult female, but there is a child transforming into that adult female. Where's the line? You go even further down the road to like My Dress Up Darling. Yep. There's portions where she's undressed, not naked, but she's in a state of undress as she is changing her outfits for the purposes of the plot. So you're going to lose like whole sections of the plot because of her panties and underwear.
You're going to lose that. Like, I know this is cliche because I know Nerdigans, you and I and Cider, we talked about this just a couple months ago and used the same examples, but it's, there goes Sailor Moon because there's a silhouette of 16-year-old girls, covered in light,
clearly not wearing clothes,
right?
Well, they're like 13-year-olds. They're 13-year-old girls, not 16. Remember?
Oh yeah, 13. No, they get older though, don't they? Don't they actively age? They're by the end. Yeah, by the end they're like 18,
Sailor Moon Stars. Sailor Moon Stars. They're like in high school. They're like 14.
See,
I think
that's the most recent event to me, of course. So that's what I still see them as that. No, I'm kidding. You are right though, Nerdigans. Good clarification. But then of course the one Nerdigans and I always like hit. Dragon Ball. You will no longer, is Goku's little wee-wee going to be, is that going to get hit? Is the joke where you see Bulma's butt when she's flashing Roshi, is that going to be hit? Is the joke about Oolong turning into Bulma's panties going to be hit? Or what about that episode where Goku and Bulma are camping out in the desert and Yamcha goes to try and rob them, but he gets stuck because Bulma's taking a bath and he looks in the window and blood gushes out of his nose and Puar has to take him away. That's all the it's exactly what you were saying, Cider, is that once you put it up to committees or individual things like this, it's always somebody will always find a way, right? Like, go look at, I'll pull them up again. Look at Fandom Pulse. They will go out of their way to find whatever reason to hate on anything. I don't know if those two have liked anything in the last year or 5, at all. But they just go out of their way because they have an agenda. They know they don't like the people who like that game or make that game. So they're going to go, of course I find that obscene. Of course that is. And then boom, ban. Or even worse, you have Dragon Ball, right? And they go, we're banning it. And Toei or whoever goes, well, we still, and this is very, very hyperbolic. It would be not this simple, but they go, oh, we want that state of Utah revenue still. We got to get that. Hey, maybe we hire a company that goes through all of our shows and sanitizes them really hard. Maybe, they could do this for the kids. Maybe there's something for the kids here, right? This is how we get 4 kids back.
Yeah, and that's where this leaves us, in all honesty, because we are, as I was explaining to Nerdigans, this is the extreme overcorrection. The past 15 odd years of people pushing the social acceptance of, I wouldn't say necessarily sexual behavior only, but just behavior that is not deemed 1990s level of public civility. And that was a very grimy, confrontational time. But now we're in a state where, like, as I said over and over, Lizzo is going out here with a big green dildo at a show. And that's, you know, while something you'd expect Pearl Jam to do, it's not something they ever did. And that's kind of,
see, I understand what you're saying, but here's what I'm gonna push back here is that this isn't a natural flow back, right? Nobody here is just sort of going, we've had enough. Let's sort of like ease out of it. What you're seeing is it is a cultural war is what you're seeing from both sides, from left and right. None of this is about what they personally like. We live in this era right now, especially in America, where everything done by like politicians or anybody on a side is just to own their opponents. So, for example, you know that these Republicans are going, we're going to deem anything obscene. But hey, there's still a lot of them are still trying to pass the child marriage laws. This dude is I don't know if you highlighted this, Nerdigans, but this senator is from a Republican out of Utah. Yep. Utah is the giant Mormon, stronghold within America. And you have your leader literally said, hey, it's cool to have multiple wives. It doesn't matter what age they are. So I don't buy that from you. If you're going to do that, then why not ban Mormonism? You know what I mean? Like
where's the line, right?
Exactly. So the current standard we have in this country for obscenity is judicial review. It's not perfect, but that's where that old adage of I can't define obscenity, but I know what it is when I see it. Because everybody and their mother could have a different read of that Sailor Moon scene. That's why you have to bring in, theoretically, like the Supreme Court, 7 impartial people to go, let's objectively look at this. Let's review. Okay, you guys are all crazy. It's just a transformation scene. Calm down. Or they go, cuties. Okay, maybe we talk about this. Maybe we need to have a talk about that. But leaving it up to these little committees, you're going to get the Karen across the street saying, I want you, dead because you have a poster of Tifa on your wall.
Well, and again, like that's why I keep saying, like, where's the line? And that's why I say
100%.
It's the overcorrection because of how, like, just the big push of like social experimentation with just confrontational new ideas has pushed people into a realm where they think of the most extreme example of that whenever it's brought up. Like, I was illustrating.
How's that our fault, though?
Well, no, it's not. I'm just trying to tell you why this is happening. That's all. I'm just trying to explain what the rationale is on the other side. That people have seen this so much that they only think of the most negative example of it, rather than like that Digimon episode that's sketchy but doesn't speak for the whole series. They think of the really negative part and then say, well, that whole thing has to go because that one thing made me upset. And that's where this overcorrection is.
That's because we live in this age of the influencer, right? Like we only highlight. Think of the Matt Walshes, right? They're going to go, oh my God, this is the end of America. And the stupider people around are going to go, oh my God, it is. This is the biggest problem we're going to face. We, in America, we're supposed to have this individuality, the self-determination. So I know that there are people out there who went, we've kind of been bombarded with sex a little too much. I don't really want to watch a movie with that right now. I'm kind of turned off by that. They make their own decision because they're like, if that's for you, okay, but I'm not feeling it. The second you go from that to, we need to make you a bad person. We need to make sure everybody knows you are a criminal for liking anime, for any of that stuff, for liking boobs. That's where it goes from a cultural shift to a cultural war.
Yep. Like, I'm going to add on to it, to what you said, Spencer. This is like a rage bait influencer culture. That's what's happening here. And I feel like part of me is like, it's like rage bait grifting culture war to an extent. It's really kind of shifted to that because of what Elon did with the blue check mark. And also with YouTube being monetized on top of that, I don't know if Instagram has the monetization. I know Twitch does. So like Twitch, you have the monetization on Twitch
Instagram.
Like that.
I think Instagram only does you can link your shop. You know what I mean? Like, I think they have if we were selling shirts, we could put our shirts up there, but I don't think it's like we got 5 million views on a video, we get $3. I don't think Instagram, but I'm not positive. I don't really go on that app.
But yeah, I think the monetization of social media on top of like everything else. Yeah. That's where I'm like, it's the rage bait grifting culture that's happening here. because people are not so genuine anymore about
Right.
things. So like when I see like certain people like change their opinions or change their approach to like posting content, I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, Ian Miles Chong is the best example. Like he's just a straight up grifter. He's like the king of grifters.
Oh, he is literally worn like every hat on the political spectrum, from like hyper far left to hyper far right. He is probably the most egregious example of what you're talking about, Nerdigans, but you're not completely off base. But I'm going to delineate it just a little bit because yeah, the monetization of the internet and your, like as soon as monetization was extended to like the threshold was lower, that made it more achievable for everybody. And then especially with what you're talking about, once Twitter became monetized, that, gave everybody this dream that, oh, if I post this much, if I do all this, I'm going to get rich. But there's also the other element of it, Nerdigans, which is before whatever, I'm going to say like before 2014, before 2016, everybody you would see on the, there were streamers, you had your personalities, everybody wanted to be them. And now everybody gets on the internet and they say, I want to be a poster. I want to be one of those accounts that everybody loves. I want to be the
clout chaser, so to speak.
Well, like not even clout chaser. Well, they are clout chasers, but
that's what I mean.
It's less like, I don't want to, I kind of, what am I trying to say here?
The dog video accounts. The dog video accounts are a good example of what you're talking about, where you get a lot of money, a lot of revenue, a lot of people patting you on the back saying, good job, you post dog videos, we love you. That kind of attitude.
You're talking about like the virtue signal, too.
That is different. Like that's just annoying, but that's kind of, we've always had that since Facebook. I'm talking about the people who they will tweet whatever will get them engagement, whatever is the hot issue.
Farming.
For example, like, and I'm not trying to make this political. This is just the one that's happening a lot lately. You see this with, the Trump price controls, or the recent immigration of the South Africans here. You have 700 tweets from all of these right-wing accounts going, wow, Kamala's a communist because she wants a price control. What the hell? And then Trump does it, and oh my God, this is the best thing ever. That doesn't help anybody. All that does is it inflames your audience, which gets them worked up and emotional enough to give you money. And it like, if we'd have all just agreed from the beginning, price control bad. Great. We can have discussions about other things, about ways, maybe it's good, maybe it's, who knows? But now this is where we're at. It's just, this is what supports my side. Buy that narrative now, and now buy the next thing I tell you, and buy the next thing I tell you, and buy the next thing I tell you. Like there was a senator, and I don't even remember who he is, but he's a Republican senator who a couple months ago he tweeted out a video, or there was like a video of some, I think like a Palestine protest on a campus, and he went, college is literally un-American. And then on Monday he shared a photo of his daughter. He's like, I'm so proud of her. She just graduated with her degree. She's going on to grad school. And it's like, then what the hell are you doing? Why? All you are doing is trying to say things that will rile your base up, because that gets you attention nowadays, and attention translates into money.
It's been like this since 2016, at least, because I used to be a lot more active on political Twitter, and I just, like, after a while, I just couldn't take it anymore. It was just so frustrating. And who's getting it? Like,
go ahead.
This is why people hate centrists, because centrists like will call out the bullshit, and like a person that's been doing that a lot is Jonah Goldberg. He's been calling out the BS, and he's getting attacked by Trump supporters for calling it out. Hell, brigaded by by patriots in the protest community because I was questioning what Trump said in a rally speech. And I got brigade for like weeks over that.
I'm sure you've seen the rise in like Elon like acolytes going, Grok, is this true? And then it says something and they go, oh wow, you've been compromised. Can you not use left-wing sources? And it's like, do you think Elon would make an AI that would primarily do left-wing propaganda of all the things? Like, what are we doing here? And I also want to make it clear, guys, this isn't just a Republican thing. This isn't just a conservative thing.
No, it's
like
not.
I said, I have a lot of examples because it's happening right now, but we can go anytime the Democrats do the same thing. You know, we need stronger borders or whatever. And then you go 5 weeks back and it's like, I can't believe not there's any borders at all. It's just that is the world we live in, and we owe it to ourselves to go,
Tribalism.
it's the tribe. There you go. Yes, that is exactly, that sums it up. We could have saved this entire section just with that.
No, that's again, like I said earlier when we were in the bill talking about the bill, is that this is that overcorrection. Is that as a tribe, a group of people have decided
There we
that
go,
they're going to think of the most negative
yeah.
instance of this, not the stuff that's harmless but sketchy. It's harmless. They're going to think of that worst example they can think of and say, no. Any defense of this obscenity in public is you making an excuse for this extreme example that has painted the entire argument. And that's, on these issues, it's bad. When we're going to war, it kind of does need to be black and white because it's war. We're either going to kill a bunch of people or we're not. However,
but the WMDs,
and the poison gas that's everywhere, guys. We're 2 more weeks. Don't wait.
Yep.
Don't worry.
Still wait. I'm still waiting for that yellow cake uranium.
Right.
They said they have it any day now.
And so this is where we're at, is that like the bill is going to end up being watered down if it gets any further than it already has.
Yeah.
Because, well, even on the right, you got to understand that like Trump found out about Stormy Daniels somehow, right? He didn't get her ad in the paper, like looking for billionaire for one night stand. That isn't what happened.
She wasn't like randomly, like he didn't go into an Xbox lobby and she was one of the players and they just started hanging out. Yeah.
What's a girl doing in the lobby? I didn't realize there were women allowed in the Xbox voice lobby.
I'm so, just quick asterisk, I am so sad we will never get first term Trump actually like in an Xbox lobby. That man would have been hilarious, and not like saying slurs or anything, but just like
reacting.
He used to have the best zingers of all time.
He did.
But the zinger he did, he a little bit of old Trump showed this week when he was talking about the shot, like the Ozempic shot.
Oh yeah.
And he's like I have a buddy, he's taking it. I said, it's not working out for you. I was like, oh my God, there's the old Trump. There's the one who used to make us laugh. But yeah, anyways, Xbox Live Trump. Like those old videos I keep talking about, Cider, the AI ones.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We're this close to actually just being able to create it. And who knows, the White House will probably start posting those videos anyway.
Probably.
So anyway, but that's what Nerdigans was pointing out earlier, is that Trump is not the guy that's going to come down on this the way that people are assuming that he's going to have this heavy-handed attitude. He himself dabbles in the beauty of the feminine form. So obviously he's not going to try and curtail that now that we're trying to deal with a population crisis. I'm sorry. If we could figure out how to reverse engineer the gay bomb into a straight bomb, I'm pretty sure we would be carpet bombing most of the United States.
It's called bringing the fucking prices down in this country.
Who would have guessed? It's almost like every nation on earth that's having an industrialization right now is experiencing the same problem. Wow. Again, this is another thing that's going to peel over into our next topic that we've been very kindly putting off until Spencer got here.
Whoa.
Because
I'm so honored. What do we got?
Sakura Media has a bone to pick with you.
Oh, yeah? What's up, buddy?
Yeah. Well, apparently you misread one of the comments that Sakura Media was making about Pretty Cure, and
I apologize.
Sakura Media has decided to beat you up under the moonlight. So
I deserve it. I'll take it. I'll take my my L.
And
okay, so I'm just gonna address this real quick. Sakura, I did see your comment. This comment was left on my Friday streams. I stream over on my own channel every Friday night. We kind of just hang out. We talk about positive things that we like, because we spend so much of our time in this crap. We got to at least have like 2 hours to remember. There's still some fun stuff out there. I do apologize if I didn't read all of your comment right or out loud. But as I've reminded you before, sometimes with the flow of a live show, I can't dedicate all of my attention to every single comment because I've got lots of people talking. We've got time limits. So I appreciate it, and I saw it, and I apologize that I didn't give it the proper attention. But going forward, no, it's not personal. Sometimes we're just live. I have to, treat everybody the same as you.
Sure. I'm not trying to call you out or anything. I just
I know. I'm just letting him know. I'm being nice, and I'm like, hey, I hear you.
So this is Sakura Mita's comments, and so I'm just going to read them out here. And it says, remember the 2017 Power Rangers morph scene? Honestly, it should belong in the Magical Girl anime. I could see elements and or crystals come to alive and form a Magical Girl suit. I was brainstorming on how a samurai theme Pretty Cure might play out. Add the suit is alive and can work. Electricity hang metal pieces like decoration, plants bloom like okami, armor shift from ice to water, fire ignite armor clothes into beauty, and ether makes the user truly Onimusha within the soul. And so there we go. Everything's out and
Sounds
out
cool.
in the world now.
But see, so here's the thing though, is like, and I'm just gonna turn this to like a slightly general topic, because this is something you and I like talk about a lot, right? Is that like, first of all, I got your idea, but it's like, I don't really have anything to comment. It's cool. That's pretty much all I got. On Friday, I read that comment and I started talking about the 2017 Power Rangers film. And I was like, hey, Sakura, quick question. Do you like it? Like, it's okay if you do, but you talk about it a lot. And I only brought, and that's where I got on it, because it's sort of like, Sakura does ask a lot about the 2017 Power Rangers, and I'm happy to talk about it, but it's also like, what, sometimes you get on a topic and it's like, what do I have left to say on it? It's why, like, we don't sit here and every stream isn't just Kathleen Kennedy bad, right? Because it's like, we've kind of already said what we've had to say. So like, I like your idea as,
wait,
but
Spencer,
I don't care
wait,
about the Power Rangers.
Wait. The Last Jedi is the worst movie that ever happened.
I almost forgot about that. Thank you for letting me know. Did
Right.
you also know that Brie Larson is annoying?
What? This is... I did not know that. This is the first time I'm hearing this, as you're telling me right now.
That's the second. I referenced that earlier. I know it's not out of the ordinary. Everybody does, but I love that clip so much.
Wow, I did not know that. I am hearing about this as you're telling me right now.
I wish I had like, remember, we were talking about this the other week, Nerdigans. Remember those little like keychains that could play like music clips on them?
Yeah.
I wish I could get one of those that was playing whatever that song was when Trump was getting off the plane. And I would just like keep it on my belt and I would click it every time and be like, this is the first time hearing about it.
So speaking of being the first time, what's that?
I was just thinking of like, remember those playback? Oh God, the Nickelodeon. I can't remember the Yak Back. I think that's what it was called.
Yep.
I think that's what it was called. Yeah.
Yeah, remember carrying those little? I think I had like the full size one and the mini one. So that's what I was thinking. Like the moment you said that, that's the first thing that came to mind.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Those type of things where you like hit it and it played like a 30-second clip of a song. Oh no, you had like little interchangeable CDs, but they were just like a chip with a 30-second clip of whatever song you had.
Yeah. And you just had
that
Trump
was
memes
different.
on them. You know?
Was that different?
Yeah.
It gets hit clips.
Hit clips. Hit clips is the one you have.
Where is Jacob? We need him to take us down this road.
Speaking of which, Jacob will be returning probably next week, and he's also going to be launching a channel here with Spencer and Nerdigans where they expose me to things that I didn't grow up with because I was growing up in a tree, apparently. So they'll be doing a show that I believe we're going to call...
You had actual snow. We grew up in California. We didn't see snow. So there's the big differentiator.
They had to manufacture it, apparently. So
yeah, the asbestos, when they were tearing them out of the walls, they would just shred it up and give it to us as a treat.
We are thinking about calling that retro recall, but I'm not sure how everybody's going to be able to pronounce that after a day of work. So we're going to
retro recall.
Yeah, I think we might be changing the
dedicated wham.
Something a little more G4-y, like Power Punch or something like that, and we'll try it like that. But that'll be coming soon, where we go down nostalgia lane. So if you guys like reviewing the early 2000s, late 1990s, that'll be around hopefully for the foreseeable future, but coming soon. Speaking of coming soon, though, on the other side of the world, we have James Gunn's Superman trailer that just came out that gives us a very clear idea of what the conflict in the story is. If you're not aware, in the DC universe, there are two warring nations that are similar to, well, I was going to say Israel and Palestine, but then I was like, there's just about every Middle Eastern country is in these two warring nations.
It's one of those sort of lucky unplanned breaks, right? That sort of happens is DC made those two countries as stand-ins, and because they kept using them over the years, they just kind of all amalgamated into it. So you could really use those two for any of these.
Any Middle Eastern conflict you'd like, that works. And so we will be, if this is the central point of the trailer, just so you understand the context as we go. Now we're going to be reacting to this as we go. So you guys let me know when you want to pause it or however we're going to do it. So
yeah.
Are you being serious right now?
Yeah.
You'd let me
She
interview
looks
you as Superman.
Rachel Brosnahan. She looks great as Lois. By the way, I
buy
knew
it.
she's a pretty lady. I just didn't know how she would look as the character when they first cast her. But I'm like, the hair, the way she carries herself, she's great.
I stopped a war.
Okay. This is a massive, massive point because somehow James Gunn managed to time this in probably the most perfect instance possible, where not only do you have Superman saying, put an end to these endless wars, put an end to these blood feuds that have existed longer than the nations that they occupy. And here's Superman putting an end to those feuds.
And kind of, and also that to your point, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just that when he says that, like, we didn't get to it yet. Go ahead.
Right. And what I want to illustrate is that you have Superman now under fire for doing that. And again, so for like the crowd that really supports President Trump as the underdog, defeating the deep state and all that jazz, you've got this movie that comes out now with the poster boy of America, the guy that arm wrestled the Soviet Union into submission, Superman, coming out and echoing the call to end war. And I don't know.
I can't buy any of the end war shit from Trump. I can't buy any of the deep state shit. Look at who he's hired. Look at all the bribes he's taking. Like this, I don't buy that. But what I will give you in this is that what I really like is that we all want an end to the stupid shit. We all, like the Russian invasion, the Gaza conflict. In a second, Superman, Lois is talking about the government was on you. They didn't like that. And he goes, what? Because I was saving lives? Like what? Why is there rules for that? And I think that's sort of where all of us are. And we just can't deal with these stupid leaders anymore using us for all of their pet projects, right? Like even just for a quick example, even at this point, the IDF is like rebelling against Netanyahu because he's like, we're not sending any more food in, period. And they're like, that's not what we signed up for. And he's like, oh, but I'm going to make you do it anyway. So I think that sentiment of like, why are there so many rules? Why can't we just do it is very resonant. Boom.
So right before he hits the ground, though, I want you to take a listen to that line. People were going to die. We don't hear from Superman pleading the case for why he does what he does often.
Right.
It is important to that character that he does that because it's only when Superman is at his most powerful is when he's employing his morality. Again, the character is designed to punch a hole through universes. He's done everything 12 times. What makes him timeless is that in most instances, he has a salient thing to say.
I was going to say, like, do Sider and I have to go back through our Silver Age fan favorite moments of Superman powers? Because not just punch through walls, he'll eat a train. He'll shoot rainbows from his hands.
Sneeze and destroy a galaxy.
But Sider is correct. It is the morality of the character that's what makes him Big Blue, right? That's what makes him the Paragon. That's why we have so many of these other, whether intentional or not, whether they're trying to be super edgy parodies like Homelander or just sort of different takes like Sentry. That's why you very rarely ever see such a good like Superman analog believably at the top of another non-DC thing, because it's very the morality. I don't know how else to explain it. It's that development of the morality. We know who he is. And that's why, like, I saw a lot of people on Twitter going, wow, Superman's getting angry. This is stupid. He would never yell. And I'm like, let's put our James Gunn boners or hate boners away for a second. And let's think. Like, I really like this because it's Lois doing her job. She's being that reporter, even though it's Superman, even though she's probably on his side. And it's Superman getting not angry at Lois, but frustrated that, like Sider was saying, any of this matters when he was saving lives. Like that's what Superman is sort of like. I'm angry that we have, I think Timon just say it, like bureaucracy.
Well, he says a reporter caring about bureaucracy. What? Well, there are a few of them out there. That was kind of like the Cold War tactic as well for reporters, was to lean into policy and how it's exercised, especially foreign policy. And Lois Lane, of course, rose to power in that time. So, of course, this is following through. When we get to the end of this, I'll bring up what this makes me think of the most. So,
yes.
there's John Williams. This is what the whole thing was missing for me, was that particular John Williams jingle. Don't care if they do the rest of the song. It's that dun 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 dun. That's all it needs to do.
I'm gonna jump on that right here. So shout out to friend of the channel, friend of ours, Floral Under the Rock, great guy. If you guys are interested in internet ministry for like Christian, like I think, I don't know religious domination, so I'm going to say like Protestant Christian maybe. Sorry, Floral, if I'm wrong, but if that's up your alley, check out his channel on Sundays. But he was a little more cynical about the trailer, and he made a tweet that was like, "You just liked it for the John Williams music," and I disagreed with it because I'm like, "Come on, that's a little disingenuous." But to Cider's point, like after I started hearing that, I started like smiling, and then like the montage we started getting here, I was like, "Oh man, oh crap." James might have hit it right here.
Hey, buddy, eyes up here.
Again, we don't hear Superman talk like this very much. As you remember, Snyder's had his few little quips here and there, but most of the time he was like lowbrow, like we're not jokey here. People are going to die. We don't joke about this. And then of course, what Whedon came in and turned it into an episode of Buffy. So
that's because I was about to say like, those quotes were really bad, though, Cider. Do you remember when he landed on Wonder Woman? Do you remember when he taunted the Flash? And then I was like, wait, that's the Whedon Justice League. Never mind. That was even worse.
Yeah, if they found a way.
What?
Here, this feels good. This feels like farm boy conversation.
Oh, yeah.
This feels like a Kansas farm boy talking to the bull to get the bull's attention,
that
kind of thing.
That's actually, so that line he says at the beginning where he's like, let's go, Cronkite. At first, I was like, that seems so weird, like a reference and a weird.
Really
then I was like, no, that's what like the farm boy reporter would probably know most still as his like reporter cultural touchstone is Walter Cronkite. And I'm like, okay. Quick question, just because I'm blanking now. What quips am I missing from from Snyder? Because the only real thing I can think of is when he takes the guy's truck and like slams it on the tree when he's working at the bar.
He's got a few little one-liners here and there.
I'm just forgetting. I'm not saying it's not there. I just forget.
Well, one of the ones that stands out to me is his on my planet it means hope. You know.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He's trying to be coy and playful. He has another line with Lois where he's meeting her and she's been stabbed by the Brainiac assistant aboard the cloning ship, and he's trying to ease her, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" That kind of like cutesy attitude sort of it.
I see it now.
This, however, is like full on. I just finished mucking the stalls. I don't have time, you know.
like 5 seconds before this, Ma went, Clark, the bull or like the stallion got out of the stable. So he's going, hey, here boy, let's go.
Yeah,
like right here, let's go.
Same attitude, yeah. So this confused me. I did not know who this character was when she entered with Lex because I don't recognize Mercy like this. However, as soon as her blade hand shows up, I was like, that's Mercy.
So this I don't think this is Mercy. I think this is actually the engineer. And that's why I was like, you wouldn't know her because she was from The Authority, that Wildstorm imprint. In the comics, she's got like liquid metal, like she's got sort of the same body, but like instead of nanotechy stuff, it's like liquid metal, Silver Surfer style. So that's her, I'm pretty sure. And what I want to highlight this because I don't know if you saw this, but I think you in particular, Cider, would really appreciate this because I know how much you like technological science and stuff. When I first saw this clip here that Cider has up where she gets the saw arms and she starts swinging, I went, ew, we're doing nanotech again. We're doing Big Hero 6. We're doing Iron Man. Like, come on. Such a miss in a trailer that was so far so good. But then somebody pointed out that it's not nanotech. It's ferrous metal, which is like that black, super malleable, like ripply
Mercedes
metal.
uses it for brakes.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, that is like a good little level of detail that I can really appreciate.
That's
still not like jazzed on that. Yeah, exactly. I'm not jazzed on like the spiky, but I like the intention.
So it's not Mercy. Okay. Well, now
Mercy's there though. And I will also put this out here. I could also be wrong because we don't know. That could be Mercy, and I could just be talking out of my ass.
No, you make a good point about the engineer because again, the two of them, Mercy wouldn't be as advanced, but I assume that Lex was like the uber duper super genius and he's just been secret about it. That's all. Again, engineer makes perfect sense in this regard.
Now I want to see that though, Cider. I actually kind of would love to see a Gunn do a live action Mercy, because he loves the source material so much. He wouldn't make it like a he wouldn't make it like an MCU Goldar from the 2017 Power Rangers movie like the mecha the three of us always complain about for the last couple of weeks.
That mess.
Gunn wouldn't do that, so he would give her like an actual my hand peels back and here's a Mega Man cannon. So just hopeful thinking, wishful thinking.
Well, again, I mean, like we don't know. He's done a lot of Golden Age stuff in this trailer already, so Mercy might be something that Lex reverse engineers out of the corpse of the engineer, or what he learned from the engineer at the end of whatever conflict they're having,
or even vice versa. Oh, this
is supposed to be a cinematic universe. Gunn starting off pretty heavy. This is kind of like midway kind of cinematic universe stuff. So I don't know where we're gonna go from here, because it's got to get darker from here, and I'm.
We'll talk about what this means going forward, because I think you and I have a lot of things to talk about. But yeah, let's get through it. I don't know. It's like the modernized evil Gene Hackman Lex, and I'm like, that looks really cool.
I own those sunglasses. I did.
You do? Yeah.
The lamination came off. They were $5 sunglasses off of Instagram.
Oh my god!
Look, Instagram store. Look, it all comes full circle.
My favorite. It was Tony. They were like, this is the Tony Stark sunglasses that have like the cool. That like they were showing all the holograms. I was like, of course it didn't have holograms.
Of course it didn't have that.
But they weren't even the same glasses. I was like, okay, thanks. But yeah, that's what they had, was the big blue tint, and then around the sides they had like the goggle protector on the side there. So yeah. I recognized that immediately. I was like, "Oh, hey, cool! Team Moose sunglasses. He's gonna get cancer."
This is a big compliment to Cider, but it's also something I'm sure all of you have noticed. Those sunglasses are very, very cool, and on certain people, when they wear them, it works for them. Cider, luckily, is one of those people, because if it doesn't work for you, you immediately look like you're going to a steampunk fair, and it's just not. Steampunk hasn't been cool outside of like the 3 months it was in 2007.
Yeah, man.
I was gonna say steampunk still looks cool to me, but then again, you're talking to someone that likes Kachi Okuda.
Damn. Okay, yeah, never mind. Opinion discarded. No, what I meant, Nerdigans, was like there are some steampunk things that look cool, but there was like that moment in like 2007 where we all discovered it. And we were like, this is a neat idea. But then, as with everything, like the weirdos online took it way too far, and they started having like steampunk conventions, and here's a steampunk release for this game, and I'm just like, okay, like let's move on, like anything else but steampunk.
Maybe it's been enough time, and
I was just about to say, maybe
now.
Bring it back. Maybe we can do a steampunk renaissance.
I really hope that the tourists do not ruin steampunk because of how Arana does it in Gachi Kuda, because it's like a mixture of like post-apocalyptic grunge steampunk.
You know they will.
So
everybody, just like we saw with Thunderbolt and with everything, anytime there's a real world connection or inspiration, those weirdos will go, you support that. We'll get back to Superman, but keeping it on like a Superman analog. I don't know if you saw it, Nerdigans, but when the director of Thunderbolts came out, Jake Schreier, and he was talking about the Sentry's power and the way he like gusts you. He was like, "Oh, I got inspiration from Hiroshima, because his power is the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, and that's sort of how we described the atomic bomb back then." So many internet weirdos were like, "I can't believe Jake Schreier supports the war crime we did against America. Why does he hate the Japanese?" And it's like, go away. Like, just quiet.
They missed the whole point.
Exactly. They always do.
Oh, God.
I want to ask you, which one of these robots is voiced by Sean Bean?
Joink. The one with the cape. The one with the cape, of course.
Okay. Because you remember they're helping him out, and they got the really cutie girly one there, and I know that one's the one that the engineer's really gonna like lay into, so it screams and hollers and has a horrible time, because then you feel bad. They're gonna. Do you remember when Joss Whedon killed Walsh?
Yes, I do.
That's what they're gonna do to that cutesy little robot
Jesus.
thing. Yeah, that's what they're gonna do to her.
I will say, just on the topic of the robots, I love everything we've seen so far, except for that clip we saw of the robots taking Clark into the fortress and healing him. I like all that, but I can't stand James Gunn's like, it's his humor, and it's just like the sort of his humor that doesn't land, where they're like that little exchange where it's like, Kel-X, and he's like, which Kel-X are you talking about? I am not a man. I am just a robot programmed. And then there's like the female one, and it's like, James Gunn, everybody has understood what like a operating system personality is for a robot since Flash Gordon, since Doctor Who introduced K9. It's fine. You can say Superman programmed us to be friendly. You don't have to be weird about it.
Your choices.
So I'm excited about that.
Now we've got
and I'm a sucker.
So Black Pill Timon pointed out Crypto should be proportionately as strong as Superman. Those blades can't hurt him. I'm not sure that they are, to be honest.
I think she just smacks him.
Yeah, I think that's all she does is deflects him because he's, a dog, and she's clearly meant to take on Superman. So she's obviously going to have proportionate strength to those two at least. So she does get heavily damaged by him, though. You see her holding her mouth. I think he ripped her chin off. I think that's because you see. We'll go back and take a look at that because you see the rip right here. See the rip?
Oh, you do.
It's ripped all the way up to here. So I think he ripped her chin off. Just took it.
Oh man.
So,
and this is James Gunn. This is the guy who came from like a horror background. So even if he doesn't go like full, it's an actual like bloody maw, I can see it like, oh, you ripped off the human part, and here's like the Terminator, skull teeth.
Yep. Now this part confused me. I don't know if they tried to put Superman in like a meta-human prison, and that this is what he's trying to escape from here. I think that might be it.
They show it a little in like a couple seconds when they throw him into like the cell. Metamorpho is there, and he's got like a green hand because he made it into kryptonite. So it is some sort of superhuman prison, or maybe it like that. That's sort of I don't know what it could be. If it's a superhuman, here's my thing with it is like makes sense for it to be a superhuman prison, but if it is, because it's this big cinematic universe and we know James Gunn loves his Easter eggs and interconnectedness, does that mean everything in there has to be a like, are we gonna have to sit there and go, oh, that's them, and then have that be the established point where we have to go, oh, how did they get out of the stupid prison? How did we get out of the stupid prison? I'm not sure because we don't know, but that was just my one curiosity, I guess.
That it's some type of detonating event that's happening here. It's not a trans laser beam.
I saw that and I went, I my first reaction was like, oh, Cider and I are like, we're wrong as fuck. And then I went, what is that?
Yeah, it's like so when the artists try to show us a planet experiencing a collision with another planet, this is usually what that looks like when the kinetic force is transferred and all the internal stuff from the planet goes puking out the opposite side of where it was struck.
Yeah.
So that's what it looks like to me, is like maybe the moon has been struck or something, and that's the causality here. Could also be that Stellaris shows up and takes a big old dookie.
And we could still be right. We could still be right. The only thing that, like, I'm kind of open to any explanation, but what you said right there makes me so worried about the about the like the Earths colliding, because that was the whole thing in the Marvel comics that set up Secret Wars, were those incursions where like the universes were collapsing and they had to decide, like, do we destroy one to save us? And it was this whole big thing. You guys don't need to lean up that hard against Marvel, and I would be shocked if James did it, but there exist executives.
Oh, well, you know what? Civil War didn't give us the superhero prison. It gave us the raft.
Oh,
here's James Gunn to give us the superhero prison. Pretty much exactly as Reed Richards built it, in fact.
Actually, yeah. Like the whole cube, like sliding system that they had, which always looks cool, but I always think, like, how are you going to feed them?
Poop?
Is it, where are they pooping? How do you feed them? Isn't that unnecessarily, like, long? Like, Lex Luthor built that, and he's like, we'll do it all. And the one guy who was, like, in charge of it, he's like, man, I'm going to miss my kid's birthday for the next, like, 7 years, just trying to get to, like, Green Lantern 7, who's, like, all the way back.
Exactly. You got to take a monorail to go see the other prison. It's weird. I don't know what's supposed to happen. Watch his facial expression. And he's just like, I'm like, David Cornerswet, please, what happened?
So I'm gonna. We all remember a little lad who used to hang around these parts named Josh Berger. I was talking to him a couple months ago. I managed to say hi to him, but we were talking about that first teaser where they have this scene, but it's just this part. It's just like right where Cider paused it is where it starts, where he like looks up, gives that weird look, and grabs his dad. Now, both of us got really worried because he pointed out that this actor, I don't know him personally, but he's apparently seen him in a lot of stuff, and he happens to play a lot of memory impaired characters like Alzheimer's patients, amnesiacs. So we were like, oh no, are they going to do this weird thing where like we thought this was like an Alzheimer's moment, like Clark had just gotten through to him for 1 second and was like, I love you, and we were like, I don't know about that. Seems like maybe the wrong venue for that kind of story. Luckily, I don't think they're doing that.
No, you might have it because so Donner did Pa Kent dying in the field.
Yes.
Remember?
Yep.
And so
shit.
They can't do a heart attack anymore. So what's the one thing that Superman can't defeat other than a heart attack?
Fuck.
It's Alzheimer's. So that's what Pa Kent ends up with. And so you're right. He's sitting there and the guy's burbling on about baseball and things like that. And then all of a sudden,
like one thing,
snaps. Right, he snaps too. And that he'll die probably in the movie, and that's where the part where Superman's putting his boots on.
Hopefully not by a tornado.
No. I think they'll just get a call from Ma Kent that he's gone. Clark.
He passed. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That kind of thing. These guys are dealing with Mr. Terrific. He has launched them in the air with his the terrific
the T-spheres. Yeah.
Yeah, there's T-spheres, and so I assume that these are guys inside of this. I'm just going to go a little bit further ahead, and that guy's head is gone.
Oh,
that guy's fucking head is gone. That is the Boys style upper torso explosion.
Just with like the blood being instantly cauterized. Yeah. Holy crap. I did not catch that. Yeah. Obviously, yeah, it goes really fast, but I didn't notice that.
Yeah. So that's where James Gunn was saying that this Superman doesn't kill, and he's trying to convince the other superheroes to stop doing that. And so here it is. Here's Mr. Terrific completely eradicating some military force. So, in front of Lois Lane, no less.
No, yeah, a reporter.
Yep.
Like, he's going to take that to the news. Pause it real quick. So, I like Nicholas Hoult physically as Lex. I think like all the scenes we've seen him carry himself. There's that scene in like 2 seconds where he lets his like super a brain aneurysm. Actually, that another thing Superman can't beat. I could actually see that as well, Timon. But with Nicholas Hoult, there's that scene in a second where he's like got the super hater energy and he's like, looks great. I know this is only like 1 or 2 lines from him, but I don't get the what's the right word? Like the gravitas of Lex, right? Like from his voice. Like when I expect to hear Lex talk, it's a same level of commanding as I would get from Superman, right? You're Clancy Brown from the animated series. So maybe it's just the scene he's in, but that's my one weird
I think moreover what you're feeling is that while Nicholas Hoult does sort of meet the Lex Luthor standard, he's a very young Lex. And so he comes off
I think that is it too. Yeah.
For the station that he holds as we're presented in the trailer. Now, one of the things that I keep noticing is Lex is on the peripheral. That's not new, but he's obviously not in the active role of director of the disaster that's happening to Superman, at least in the trailer that we're seeing so far. At least up until the point that he gets to the Fortress of Solitude, he's not telling the disasters to happen.
He's like taking advantage of it.
Right, he's getting catharsis out of Superman being thrown around by a kaiju, by a tank shooting him at blank,
and being arrested, and
right, exactly, and so
the president saying "bad Superman," he loved that.
Yeah, exactly, and so some of this is apparently just Lex learning that he can fuck with Superman, and so that I think that's really where this is. He'll probably get the idea for Kryptonite to send Metamorpho in. He'll be the guy that sends Metamorpho in to use the Kryptonite on Superman to test it, It won't just be for security, it'll be to test if it can hurt him. And that'll be, again, this will be Lex stepping into that more adult role because Holt himself is, you know, he's eventually going to start aging here. So he'll start looking like the Lex we expect now, but he'll be too young in this movie, which means he's good for that cinematic thing to eventually rise to being like, you know, as Professor Snape points out here, that the Justice League Unlimited vibes are here. So Gunn may be going for that ultimate crescendo of Brainiac and Lex just completely rewriting the Earth.
Which, like, that is a good, that's a genuinely good, like, sort of cap off to a big cinematic universes.
And it's not Darkseid.
And it's not Darkseid, right? It's Lex. And you could do your Brainiac as your Thanos if you really wanted to do the hard, like, Marvel thing where you have each, like, after credit scene is Lex, I'm here to talk or whatever. And then Lex, you know, what other movies are coming out?
Who knows? Who cares? We'll find out.
Actually, that's kind of, never mind. I don't have a point to that because I kind of don't remember anything else that's coming out.
What I was going to say is, like, you could have it in the after credits kind of build up the Legion of Doom instead of building up the Avengers, have it build up the Legion of Doom instead. And that would separate it from the MCU, and it would be a lot cooler, and it would keep like up that darker image that the DC universe tends to have compared to Marvel.
You exactly hit on what I was trying to get to, Nerdigans, and the reason I blank is because I was like, who's on the Legion of Doom? Joker.
Toyman.
Yeah, Toyman. And I'm like, I don't know if we really want to see them. And then I also, like, we don't have a Flash movie in production. We don't have a Green Lantern movie. We don't have a
We have the Green Lantern show though.
And here's my problem, or the thing I would point out, Nerdigans, is like, yes, we have the show, but on the Legion of Doom, you've got Sinestro wielding his ring. So if this is an Americana down-to-earth detective show, are we going to even touch upon that? Are they even going to say anything about Sinestro? Or is it going to be a Surf Dracula type thing where in the first episode, like Hal says, like, yeah, I had a partner once, don't want to talk about it. And then as it goes on, he tells John about Sinestro. And then at the end of the series or season 1, yellow ring, that's your stinger. Like that's the only thing, right? Is you can't have him go recruit somebody who hasn't really been introduced yet. That would be a little weird. But that's what I was saying. I do think like assembling the Legion of Doom would be cool, especially because opposite of the Avengers, right? Like when Nick and Tony went to go recruit all the Avengers, they were like they had just won. They were taking that like post-game breather. Recruiting all these villains from like jail cells or being like shunted off into space. Let's see the genius of Lex at work. I would like that.
I mean, they already set a really good standard with Samuel L. Jackson showing up and saying, I have an offer to make you, that kind of thing. So you just do the same thing with Lex. He's just dressed that tactical suit that he has there from Justice League Unlimited. And he's holding a pistol and he says, I have an offer to make you. I'm going to ask once and it'll be the last offer you ever get. You know, and that's
boom. Dude, that's a good line, Cider, for that entire scene. I'm almost slightly soy facing here because I'm like, that's actually a really good line and like a good setup. Like, let's just use Sinestro is in like an Owen jail cell or whatever, and some magic, like however Lex wants to do it, whether it's like a portal door or magic, he like steps in, says that line. Like that would be, I just want to see that. I don't care who he offers it to. That's really good.
This is the dumbest line in the entire trailer for me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's like it's Superman, Lex. Like what how is he not going to command the entire world's conversation?
Right? It's even if he wasn't, you know, the super virtuous hero, let's say he was like a Marvel version of Superman, he's still Superman, sort of like that's why like you see this a lot where people go on social media and they're like, why is everybody talking about Trump? Can't we be over it? It's like, because he's the president and he's got a lot of power and he's making a lot of moves. Of course we're going to talk about him. What are you talking about?
Right. The appropriate thing would be, rather than this, is why did they send you here? That would be the better line to do, because then you've acknowledged that Lex is aware of Superman's weaknesses now.
Yes.
That's the whole point of him going to this here and now, because I think Timon pointed it out. The first movie where Lex finds the fortress, not much to do in sequels. However, there is. It's to exploit all the information that Lex is able to take from here. He's not going to be able to use a USB drive. He obviously doesn't have a camera. So he has to do it all from his photogenic memory. Now, again,
Whoa.
Lex is able to do all of this, but it's going to have his Lexisms painting quite a bit of it. So the Kryptonians won't be this noble race that whoopsie-doodled their core anymore. They'll be that invasive race to Lex.
Like the Zods, yeah.
When we saw in Snyder's version, where they conquered everything everywhere, and then they got bored and went home. You know, because that's what you do when you're an empire. You just get bored, go home. But whatever. Back at this
discount. What are they from Invincible? The like Viltrumites or whatever.
Yeah, discount Viltrumites. That's
I don't know why. Yeah. It's so weird. DC's taken that pivot in recent years, and I'm like, what? Why? Just leave them as like the scientific.
Because they don't want to talk about the black Kryptonians. They can't.
They
don't want to talk about because then they present all the white Kryptonians, so they have to be evil. Because you get a bunch of planet full of white people, they're obviously going to be evil. They can't be just people. But anyway,
because Kryptonians go by the same standards of race as we do, of course. Yeah.
Then we had Krypton's Wakanda because they were like, "Whoops, we forgot the black Kryptonians." That was weird. But
brother, Kandor.
Yeah, right.
They could easily go. The black Kryptonians have been bottled for years.
Straight out of Kandor.
Yeah, right. Like. Oh no, please don't gun, please, or not gun, but whoever else you let.
No, it'll be gun. You bet. It'll be gun. But yeah, so this is what it is. It's going to be about Lex exploiting these weaknesses as we go through it and stuff like that. Him developing techniques and technologies in order to really screw with Superman while avoiding, like public linking to that. So he can run for president,
Yes, please. But even then, he's still too young for president run. But yeah.
I would do it more organically, not through exposition. Well, again, like that's kind of where Gunn is pinned. Like you said earlier, Timon, there's too many characters in here. There's too many plot points happening at once. It's a clown car. To do the first Superman movie, you really need to go. I'm not saying this is a prime example, but you got to go back to Superman Returns, which was just saying nobody else matters. Superman is here. He's doing a Superman thing. The end. Yes, it was incredibly dry. Yes, it offered a lot of very questionable ideas about Superman. But the takeaway from it was a Superman movie. This is a clown car. This is DC's Wikipedia page of who you can find on a Google search on the first page.
No, that was a perfect comparison. Like you said, oh my God, Superman Returns was a Superman movie. This is like a DC cinematic universe movie, right? Like, yeah. It's a showcase. Man, that Superman Returns starts. They did so well in the first like 30 minutes, right? Like they don't try to super explain everything. They just say everybody knows Superman. He's a hero. He's been gone for a while.
Crash landed in a field.
He crash landed in a field. We get that awesome plane scene, and then it all just goes down to hell.
Yep, immediately.
Cyclops left X3 for that movie,
right? And all he does is play an awkward guy that doesn't really say anything or mean anything, and he's the guy that cucks Superman.
I was gonna say, well, he cucks Superman, and then he gets cucked by Superman.
It's so weird. And then the speech is given to like his semi-illegitimate son. It's so strange. But that's what I mean about this.
The piano push.
It needs to be it needs to be a Superman movie, and this isn't that. And I get that Gunn's trying to like jumpstart a cinematic universe because DC's so far behind the MCU, but I don't know. It's just too much too fast.
Conversation.
So I want to point out there's been a great deal of controversy over this shot right here.
Really?
Yeah, people really hate Hawkgirl. They really hate Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. And
I think he looks good. I think Guy Gardner.
I think they all look great. Yeah.
I think Nathan Fillion looks the best. Actually, he captures Guy Gardner like perfectly, in my opinion.
I'm torn between him and the other guy playing Mr. Terrific because that.
Mr. Terrific looks fantastic too. Like they both look like comic character accurate. Like the moment I saw them, I'm like, yes, that's them. I know who they are.
Exactly, because like with Mr. Terrific, especially the guy that did it in the CW was pretty good. But like when I saw this guy in the mask and he had the like strong cheekbones, which is
Yeah.
exactly what Mr. Terrific's always drawn with, I was like, oh man, that's really good.
So it's the costume,
Yep.
and then the lack of for Guy, it's the costume that they don't like. And the big thing is the GL on the chest.
Right.
You see the GL on the chest, the way that's stylized in those angles. They're like, where's the lantern symbol? And they
So-
notice on the sides, but it's
Right, and
traditionally
on the belt.
Guy usually
Yeah.
has it as a patch over his left breast on his open jackets
On
that
his
he
cool
generates.
jacket.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I see.
Now,
I see why
with-
they're mad.
With Hawk Girl, her suit's pretty close, but the biggest problem they have is she doesn't have that flaming red hair. Again, it's an
Yeah, that
aesthetic
makes sense
choice,
to
but
me.
it's kind of one of Hawk Girl's defining things is that she has that big flaming red hair. Mr. Terrific's absolutely loved. Everywhere I've looked,
he's
everybody
great.
loves Mr. Terrific.
So, where do I start with this? So with Hawk Girl, the one thing I will say is, yes, the problem, and like I even hate raising this argument, and I'll get into it, is like even before like 2014, which is where I personally start the like hyper virtue signaling in comics. Even before 2014, we did have Hawk Girls and Hawk Women who did have darker hair, right? However, like I said, I don't like bringing that argument up a lot because to me it feels a lot like there was a female Silver Surfer in 7 panels in another comic, because it's like, yeah, but we all know Shira, right? Like if you're doing, like Timon said, something that's really leaning on those Justice League Unlimited vibes, you got to do Shira. So like, I get it. It's a stupid thing. Like you guys can see where I am. I get it.
Yeah.
I also think it's whatever. What I will say, so with the rest of the costumes, I do get everybody's complaints, and I will say they are on point, and that's actually exactly what they are going for. Because according to things I've read, God, that makes me sound so disingenuous, like I just made it up. Leaks.
Ask anybody.
Yeah, just
They'll tell you.
ask anybody. But so what is happening here is that, like Cider pointed out, there's the heroes that all exist right now are sort of operating, more militarily. They're killing people. This is the Justice League, and what you're looking at is they're like corporate sponsored by Maxwell Lord. So you've got uniforms, and you can that's not a GL on Guy's chest. That's a JL for Justice League. And that's sort of no, don't feel sorry, because that's a good read of it as well. That's sort of what they're going for, is these heroes are, corporatized, they're losing their way. Superman is coming in and going, what are you doing? Like, you should be heroes. And so Guy looks stupid because it's a Maxwell Lord uniform. And same with Hawk Girl. The only reason Mr. Terrific gets away with it is because he kind of already wears that anyway, like a nice cool jacket with like white pants.
Yeah.
But that is what they're
That's
going
fine.
for. So if you guys are reacting that way, I think Gunn actually hit it there, because they are outside of Guy's haircut is his own choice, but the uniform is, you're like, oh, we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
I see what it is. It's very like a One Punch Man-esque kind of commentary, where remember like when Neo Heroes, it kind of went a little bit more corporate, and yeah, like if you're not up to date with the webcomic, you're just going to be spoiled because it's going to take forever for the manga to get there. Like eventually what happens in the webcomic.
Well, when what's his name? He's my favorite artist. I'm blanking on his name. But
Murata,
when he keeps when Murata keeps redrawing chapters that he did 7 years ago instead of doing new ones, what else?
I'm not happy. By the way, I am not happy with how, I'm sorry, for lack of a better term, bastardized my favorite arc of the webcomic and threw my favorite characters like to the side like that. Like
she's
the first
she's like
let me just say this. The
the
latest redraw was good, and then Black Throne, like I hate Flash because of this shit. It was like, damn,
that's what I was trying to say. She's very, very like I've heard her talk on this a lot, and she's very, very angry, genuinely so, for good reason.
I'm not the only one. Like, if you go on the One Punch Man Reddit, like more people have been converted to the webcomic because they are pissed off on how it has been adapted. And one's art's gotten so much better. But anyway, what I was gonna say is that like with the Neo Heroes, like it was already like kind of somewhat corporate with the Heroes Association to an extent, but with the Neo Heroes though, it's way more uniformed because of these suits. But what happens is with the bodysuit, the hero suits though, they're used to control the heroes eventually, so they essentially lose their humanity, and they have to get the suit unless they get the suits off. Obviously, they're losing their sense of self. That's what I'm like. This is kind of what this commentary is giving me. It's giving me very Neo Heroes in a way.
I actually think that like you're really on point there. I only like the part that makes me sad about it though is like that's a really cool plot and I could see that, but that's also too anime, right? Like
I know it's the anime, but I'm just saying like the underlying theme though with the Neo Heroes like making it corporate and all uniform, like that's what I think this is kind of giving in a way.
Nerdigans, you might not be wrong because think about this. My Hero Academia deals with this quite a bit. It's a reoccurring theme that not every hero in My Hero Academia is motivated by self-sacrifice. They are motivated by a myriad of things, and some of those, 50% of the time anyway, are not great things.
Yeah.
And so James Gunn is obviously going to be pulling from that because of the success of My Hero Academia adapting the American superhero to... Right. And so he's obviously going to be pulling from that. Now, when I go back and I try to think about what I've seen with Superman, tell me if you repaint Superman as All Might in your mind, and when he's arguing with Lois Lane, repaint him as Toshinori, young Toshinori, trying to explain. I really think that they sat back and they said All Might did a good job of modernizing Superman.
I think so.
Here he comes. I think that's where Gunn gets it, because now that you've reframed that for me, Nerdigans, I see the parallels that he's created with young Toshinori and what was going on with him interrupting this hopeless scenario with the heroes, that they were just out to destroy the villains. The villains were being villains because they had no choice. There was no symbol of peace that said, we're not going to fight stupid wars anymore. So here comes the symbol of peace, and he's fighting with his fellow heroes to drop the killer act.
Yes.
Well, here's the other thing, though, and I wish James Gunn was this based, but I feel like I'm gonna take it in a different direction and
do it.
Spencer knows what I'm going to talk about. I feel like it would be more like a Captain Celebrity and Koichi situation from Vigilantes. That's more appropriate because Captain Celebrity, when he became a hero, he was fighting for his waifu and like he was fighting for what he believed in. Then the fame got to his head and like there was the marital disputes and all that and all the and Captain Celebrity is from the US too. But then when he saw, then there was the Skytree incident because that's a terrorist attack, and he saw what Koichi was doing. He was sacrificing himself. He had nothing to lose because he's an unlicensed hero, and that inspired him to want to be like the hero that he should be again. That's what that gives me more of than anything else.
I think we'll have Superman being that inspiration point, but I don't know. Here's my only problem with that happening in this movie in particular is that that is sort of like the plot we've gotten throughout all of our pop culture lately, right? In the worst way possible. Think of the Ray Luke thing, right? Your hero goes off, he has a stumble and then he loses himself, and then it's up to the new young, apprentice to get them back into fighting form. So that's not necessarily a bad trope or a bad plot. We've just done it, or not we, but like Hollywood media, they've done it in the most obnoxious, overhanded, like, we're not going to make it even believable. We're just going to turn your favorite hero into a piece of shit, and then we're going to call it a day. So I think on like one hand, I don't think anybody wants to see that, and I think Gunn might know that. So I kind of trust him to not go that egregious. But I think there's going to be an element of that, definitely, Nerdigans.
Where like the heroes that fallen from grace and they are just fighting just because. That's where I was going with, fighting just because or fighting just for money at this point. And then they see someone, or they really, in the case of Koichi, they got nothing to lose. They're just fighting because they want to save people. Right. And they get inspired, and like Koichi was like falling from the Skytree because his power ran out.
You just did it, Nerdigans. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have that dark time where Superman's like not popular with the heroes and he's really pushed him too far to not do the killer thing and stuff like that. And then Lois Lane's going to release that recording of him saying people would have died, you know, and that's the big viral video that gets all right. All the heroes are like, no, he's right. That's what we do. We're not part of the government. We're not owned by corporations. We make sure people don't die. That's good.
There's going to be that moment where, like, I don't know who handles them. Maybe Maxwell Lord, maybe Lex, whatever. Somebody's going to be like, get them, guy. And he's going to go, well, actually, we see it. We see him actually flip away all the tanks or whatever, which is like, if they're mad at Superman for intervening, they're probably not going to be happy about Guy Gardner flipping all those tanks or Mr. Terrific blowing that dude's head off.
Yeah. I got to give Gunn points for putting a kaiju in a movie.
I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah. It's smart.
It's smart. It's so comic booky. It's perfect.
And it's going to grab that Godzilla audience too. So
well, it's also there's been this like I wouldn't say it's official, but this sort of like meta fan view of like when you go to Gotham, you're dealing with like real like sort of grounded, well, not grounded, but you know, killers, thieves, psychos. You know, the boogeyman in the night. You go to Metropolis, you're dealing with aliens, monsters, and I'm like, this is right, exactly. And this is the first time I think we've really seen that difference because even in the Reeve ones, which are great, they're fighting, you know, Kryptonians. They're still fighting humans, which is still you can believe that they could. Yeah, standard. That's the right word for it. But yeah, I'm all for this kaiju. Love that. There's that moment in the montage. Well, two moments I actually like. One is just that random woman taking the selfie like while the fight is happening because that's
realistic.
World star.
Yeah, exactly. 1,000% what would happen. But there's a little scene in there where like Clark and Jimmy are like tapping each other's like feet, like Jimmy's sitting in a chair, Clark is standing up, and they're like laughing and playing with each other. And I'm like, yeah, Superman's best friend, Jimmy freaking Olsen. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, and I hate this.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what the hell that last shot is.
That's him going up to fight whatever punched him down into that hole to begin with.
Uh-huh.
And so this is that comedic moment where Superman keeps getting repelled back to the ground again and gets frustrated.
Yeah.
It's a gunnism. He can't help himself.
Very gunny.
And so that's what you're going to see. Superman's going to do the heroic takeoff, and then Gunn's going to be like, ha ha, and he gets slapped back down to the ground, and people go, you sure you got this?
And he's going to do, it's that moment, we saw it earlier, where like the guy helps him up. Again, it's not because Superman's weak. It's sort of just like a spiritual, you know, encouragement. Right. Like we have you, but he's going to do that. And in that whole section, it's going to be like that scene in Spider-Man 2 where the passengers are like protecting Pete and like passing him back.
Yeah.
It's going to be like that. And he's going to play that, the theme. And that's going to be this big epic swell. And then he's going to do that little cut. I just know it. I feel it in my bones. You're totally right.
Yep. Well, so that's the end of that. But I do want to show you our correction to it. So
yes, we do have
it went by a little quick, but so this is our adjustment. So there you go.
It's so good. Guys, I know it's one of our dorky little AI jokes, but this was I saw this earlier and something about it clicks so well. Like Cider and I were talking, this would easily be one of those commercials from the 90s where it's like Superman gets knocked down and he goes, oh, like I'm just not feeling it today. And then somebody hands him a burger and he enjoys it and he gets powered up. And the narrator goes like, you can't be quite as Superman, but you can eat like a Superman meal or whatever. And Carl's Jr.'s Big Blue Burger. Oh, don't call it that. That sounds gross. But Big Burger or something.
Yeah, well, they're called a Big Blue Burger. They put blue cheese on it.
Oh, okay. That makes it
Big Blue Burger.
See, I hear blue and food, and I go to a blue waffle.
Yeah, well, and Professor Slade points out here, he says, this isn't Superman, this is Super Yamcha Man. Yeah, he seems to be in holes more than he's on his feet. You're right. And but this is why I did the cheeseburger thing, because just imagine the scene here. It says, here's Superman, have my cheeseburger. And he eats it and he's like, oh man, this is really good, dude. You chose the best condiments on your Five Guys, man. And then
Yeah. Hell yeah. Just like, man, that was the best.
Available now at Burger King, the Kansas Barbecue Rodeo Burger.
God,
too hot for Superman, but
God.
not too hot for you.
Are you like, can you withstand the and oh, of course. Well, they'll put a bunch of jalapenos on it because green, like kryptonite.
Right.
Done.
Yep.
Holy shit. Nerdigans, get Carlos Jr. on the line. Cider and I are about to make us all very, very rich right now. But so obviously, yeah, we
I could do a jalapeno popper burger too. I could see that.
Oh, I
And
can see
have
that
it.
too, but I can also there's gonna be so much diarrhea off of that. I just know it. Like they're gonna do it, but it is the
I
one
could see
thing
it would be
every
Jack in the
American-
Box. It wouldn't be Carl's Jr.
Super
It'd be Jack in the
diarrhea.
Box, and it would be one of those like late night burgers too. It'd be a
I
late
know
night
that's
lunch
exactly
burger.
and that like all of that scenario is just like making it worse, right? Like it's that late night burger you 1:30 a.m. You're on the way back, you realize you haven't drank like before you went out, or you haven't eaten before you go out drinking. You get this because you think cheese and jalapeno poppers, and you eat it, but then you like wake up in the morning and half of it is still left, and you see what it looks like, and you're just like, you woke up with a regret in your bed, if you will, but in your stomach. So yeah, at the end of this trailer, I'm just gonna for me, I'm pretty excited about this. This trailer did a lot that was right from I was kind of doubtful on Corn Sweat as Superman. I thought he looked like it, but there was like his face was good, but something about the way we saw him on all the set photos didn't feel right. In motion, he does look great. I have to give them that. I'm with Cider. I do think there's a lot being packed into this, and it's going to be, a DCU showcase. Here's where my pessimism starts running in, right? Is I do think I am genuinely excited for this movie from this trailer. And even from the first one, when we saw Crypto, I'm just sort of like you can get me with a dog. That's the most Reddit thing about me. I'll admit that. You put a dog in something, I'll fall for that any day. But my concern is this will probably be good. We'll get a good, solid story about Superman coming back, introducing into this world. I don't know how the rest of the cinematic universe is going to go. Do you know what I mean? Because one, look at where Warner Brothers is just as a company. They're failing in every one of their areas right now. They just posted a 50% drop in video game revenue between this time last year because they just didn't put out anything. They didn't make a DLC. They didn't make a cheap cash-in. Even if we wouldn't have liked any of that stuff, that's just bad business operation for like a video game studio in this era. So they're not doing hot. We've already started to see Gunn, he announced all those things, and we've seen a bunch of cancellations from the World War II Sergeant Rock movie, which I was super excited for because it was Lucas, what's his name? I'm blanking on his last name, but that would have been cool. He's already said, we've scrapped a couple that we haven't even talked about yet. So it looks like it's really messy behind the scenes. And then, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's a clip of Peacemaker going around from the next season. And it has the Justice League there, or this Justice League, Guy, Hawkgirl, and Terrific. And they're talking to Peacemaker, and they're sort of interrogating him about the events of the first season and the discrepancy, right? Like he's like, this happened, and they're like, no, it didn't. What are you talking about? You're just like a random crazy guy we found in the forest. And then it cuts to like this room of doors that are apparently like multiversal doors.
Oh, like
that
the Matrix.
Yeah, like the Matrix, and it looks like that's how they're going to explain like the multiverse. Like Peacemaker steps through the door or whatever. Who knows? But all of the stuff that we see that is supposed to follow this, I don't really have a lot of confidence in. So like I'll watch this. It'll be like Thunderbolts for me, right? Like I liked Thunderbolts a lot. I don't have any hope in anything we're about to get. Even the new Spider-Man movie is going to probably be really, really bad. But at least I got Thunderbolts. So Superman, I think we need a good Superman movie, especially right now, especially like Cider was highlighting the message of do good. Why do we have so many barriers to doing good? What is this? I think that's a really good message for right now. It's just the cinema, the franchise of it all. The franchise of it all.
Right. When we had Superman Returns, we weren't worried about Superman Returns 2. We weren't worried about, Batman Begins 2 until they decided they were going to do that.
Well-
when we first
well-
got it, it was just going to be Batman.
Yeah, like slight asterisk. We weren't like building up to that, but we all kind of went in with this expectation of there could be another one. You know, if this movie does good, I can see them doing another Superman Returns or whatever. But there was never that like this is going to lead into that. Yeah.
Right. It was an entirely new phenomenon from the MCU to say that all of this was connected. It's not that no other movie franchise had ever done this before, because Back to the Future did it, obviously. But what they successfully did was across 10 years build up a narrative that involved these different characters. And as Spencer's pointed out here, is that James Gunn's just kind of pulled the lever on this and dumped 10 years of buildup into this movie. And so you've got Peacemaker they've got to make sense of now. They've got to make sense of a multiverse because they've got Peacemaker. If they didn't have Peacemaker, they wouldn't have to worry about that. But they've decided to keep that character because he's popular with the people who like that character.
But you know what they even could have done, Cider? Like, it's not, obviously there's probably better ways, and this is just the one that's coming off the top of my head, and I know it's not good, but it's a way. They could have just had season 2 open with Peacemaker waking up and being like, whoa, I had a really crazy dream where I saw, like, that's not the Superman I know. Or like, I saw, that wasn't in my dream, like, he wasn't Superman.
The Dorothy thing. They could have probably done a complete reenactment of Oz.
Oh, and Guns, we would have all rolled our eyes, but like the normal audience would have loved that. They would have eaten that up. 700, well, BuzzFeed doesn't exist anymore, but CBR articles about 5 Easter egg connections you didn't see in blah, 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 blah.
I have it even easier for you. So Dr. Fate shows up, abducts Peacemaker in the middle of the night. Like he's drinking a beer in bed, like crying or whatever.
Yeah.
Dr. Fate shows up, grabs him by the neck and hauls him through one of the Fate portals, then drops him into this world. And he says, here, you won't be able, maybe you'll learn something here, and leaves him in that universe of good people trying to do good things. And that's the thing that keeps replaying for Peacemaker over and over again is my dad sucked, my world sucked, my sidekick was incredibly questionable. And now I'm in a world full of people that are fighting to stop killing. What's wrong with them? And so he's in that constant conflict with these new characters as they're trying to battle back the urge to murder. He's like, no, just do it. It's easy. You pull the trigger. Boom. It's just pull the trigger. It's real easy.
Honestly, that would make for more of like more solid season-long humor. Like the fish out of water and also refusing to adapt like Peacemaker than whatever normal narrative multiverse plot we're going to get at this point.
Yeah, you could have him running around with like Nightwing, and he's like trying to load the gun. He's like, whoa, we don't do that.
Oh my god, that would be pretty cool. Like that's the sort of like show we should have gotten out of the MCU after Endgame instead of everything we got.
One of the guys I used to roll with, he really loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I was like, it's just Spy Kids for adults, dude. It's just Spy Kids for adults.
And okay, what am I trying to say here? That Spy Kids for adults part is like the lamest part about it. Like the best parts were the John Walker stuff. I even held that when I first watched it. He was interesting, compelling, a different character. And then they just sort of went, no, but Sam is the best. He's going to win by saying, do better, Senator.
John Walker did nothing wrong. Hashtag John Walker did nothing wrong.
Hashtag John Walker did nothing wrong.
That one backfired on them pretty hard. That one backfired pretty hard on them.
Well, because they wanted to have their cake and eat it too, because even you could have made the argument that like maybe the Captain America, like our actual Captain America, you can see that the guy does raise his hands and say like, I give up. I do understand, and I'm right there with you guys. Like, yeah, he just killed Lamar. He is a terrorist. He doesn't know if he's actually surrendering. I get it. Rogers is better than us, just like as a human being. So he probably would have gone, okay, I'll try and take him in. But he would have known, like, maybe somebody's aiming a gun. He would have taken precautions. So maybe you go, okay, you're not a good, like, PR Cap, but you don't dishonorably, like, take away everything. You don't make him into this weird pariah hero. It's especially when you have that scene, which is one of the best in that show, where he goes to Lamar's parents and he's like, crying, and he's like, I lost my he's like, I'm so sorry this all happened. I couldn't protect him. I failed you. I failed the country. And they tell him, they're like, who cares? Like, you did this for our son. We understand where you're coming from. We don't care if you like, they're wrong. And I'm like, that's perfect. But they do that. And then they still try to present him as like the worst person possible. And I'm like, you guys are losing the plot here.
And predictably, the audience said, well, if you hate him, I love him. We had the Thanos effect happen all over
We
again.
really did. We really, really did. He is, I like, when I was watching, not Thunderbolts and Falcon, I went, I want to see more of him. I'm not necessarily excited for Doomsday or Secret Wars, but I'm excited to see more of like Walker and his interactions with the Thunderbolts. Yeah.
If they were smart, Spencer, 100%. If they were smart right now, they would do a direct-to-video 1-hour movie of John Walker, called it Captain America Redemption. And
or even properly call it U.S. Agent. Finally, they don't call him that.
They're fine. Then just that would be great. That would be great.
Yeah,
just a 1-hour movie that walks you through John Walker, walks you through why he ended up in the position he's in, why he has the kind of, quick to pull the trigger attitude that he does. And then you have that character in that redemption cycle now.
Yes.
So that way you have reintroduced him as like, whoopsies, he's not a bad guy. He was actually right to eliminate those people who were just killing his friends.
Right.
So, and then you've done it, you've redeemed him, and now he's a nice opposite to Nomad Cap that you're going to see come and punch the lights out of Doom Stark.
Right. And you know what makes me so very upset about that is oh shit, I think I just lost my train of thought.
John Walker,
Nomad. I don't know. It'll come back to me. But
I was gonna say it's better than what we're getting from the MCU with Ironheart, which the trailer dropped today.
Yep.
And the creator did a full walkthrough with it. And I posted the link in the chat. Oh my god, that walkthrough was just
yeah, I was going to see if you guys wanted to touch on this before we go, because we're coming up close, but we're always down to hang out for a little bit. This was the other big takeaway I actually had from the Superman trailer, is that they dropped the Ironheart trailer on the same day as the Superman trailer. So just for everybody at home for the scoreboard, the series gets announced, no news about it. No, nothing. We get the casting announcement about 9 months later of Anthony Ramos as the Hood. Complete silence. It gets a poster, then it's removed from the release schedule. Then it gets a tentative like Q1 2025, then it's removed again. And it stays off for about the next 2 or 3 rounds of reshuffles they were doing with Thunderbolts, Cap, and Deadpool, all of that stuff. Then it finally came back when they solidified the new Valentine's Day date for Captain America Brave New World. Then they said, oh, it's still here. Then nothing. This show comes out June 24th. In a little over a month, this show comes out, and they just released their first piece of actual promo material today, on the same day as their biggest rival is dropping the arguably the most anticipated trailer that we've got of projects right now. It's Superman 2. Like, you're going up against the superhero. I am pretty sure Marvel just wants this thing out and gone more than any project I've seen from them before. I think they kind of have to know how bad of what they're doing here.
Well, this is one of those ones that's from before Disney decided they were out of step with their market.
Yeah.
Ironheart, I guarantee you, this version of it anyway, has been in development since at least 2018, because we've been hearing about it since a little bit before that anyway. So what you have is the 2018, 2019, early 2020, before the lockdowns, narrative of just make the most obnoxious, overpowered Mary Sue female character you can to just rock 'em, sock 'em the patriarchy every minute she's on screen. And it is so obnoxious.
It's so obnoxious.
It's been 5 years of this now. So even if this was something that they genuinely thought was original, it is not. So when you say that they want to dump it, when you say they want to dump it, right? I think you're right, because they have now entered a stage where it is no longer popular to be that I'm going to force my way in character on the left. which is who they've been pitching to, because again, here comes Trump with that whole "I'm going to force my way in."
Yeah,
you can't stop me. Now here's Ironheart. I'm going to force my way in. You can't stop me, even if I have to steal, even if I have to harm. And that's
okay. That is what really gets me about this. I don't think we need to do a breakdown of the trailer. It's actually to the point of what Cider was just saying about how this is an old Marvel project. If you guys saw the Thunderbolts, I think you all be able to, appreciate that you could see what the fuck was happening in that movie. There are, the void space is an entirely dark thing. Yelena's flashback happens in a dark forest. A lot of the interactions between the team happen in that vault, which is underground, but you can actually see things. In this trailer, you can't see Jack unless it's like, one or two highlight scenes of her suit. But this is murky. It looks bad. But here's what really gets me more than anything about this show is, and I'm going to put on my devil's advocate, super lefty hat, my Disney hat. You're trying to, at this point in time, 2018, 19, you're trying to do the whole, let's give everybody representation, but also really almost whitewashed, representation where everything is great. Everything is good. We don't talk about anybody having any problems. It's sort of, or any possible controversial discourses that exist in those communities. You can kind of see it with Miles Morales, right? He lives in the Bronx. He's a biracial kid. He's got a cop dad as a black guy. There's so many things you could talk about with that character. So many dynamics. Instead, what do we get? He likes shoes. He like anime. He like rap. And don't you dare. And if you try to ask what it is, they won't say any, they can't name an artist or they can't name a specific show because then that makes him controversial to people. But with Ironheart, she is one of those to a T super hyper Mary Sue virtue signaling characters. If you guys remember in the comics, her entire origin is she is in kindergarten and her teacher goes, draw what you want to be when you grow up. And she goes over to Riri and she says, what do you want to be? What are you drawing? And she goes, I want to be Iron Man. I want to be Tony Stark. And the teacher goes, that's a good dream. You should definitely try it out. Maybe you could even join the Avengers. And Riri goes, and she gets sad. And the teacher goes, what's up? And she goes, oh, I was kind of hoping you would tell me that wasn't possible for someone like me. And the teacher goes, okay, that's not possible for someone like you. And Riri goes, okay, bet. And starts doing all of her assignment. That's the level of bullshit with this character we're talking. So take all of that in mind. And now the plot of this show is that she teams up with the Hood to start committing crimes to get money to build a new Ironheart suit.
Yeah.
So you turned your black representative character into a common thief. Yeah. And again, how do I put this? At its base, that concept is not out of the ordinary. Fledgling person wants to be a superhero or do something good. They take up the wrong offer. They get caught up. They have that, coming to the light justice moment and they become a hero. People, we saw that with Hawkeye, pretty much everybody in Cap's kooky quartet except for Cap. That's not uncommon. But the problem here is you've already shown Riri as being side to side, arm in arm on the side of the Angels, right? She fought alongside Shuri and all the Wakandans in her Ironheart armor in support of them for the Wakanda War. You are a hero, right? You've established yourself at that. Why would even if that somebody came up to you and said, hey, I got a big job, we could get a lot of money. If you're actually a hero that we're supposed to be getting behind, even if that was tempting, you would go, I know I could get that really easily, but I have to do it cleaner. I have to do it a different way. And then, what's even more bizarre is that in this show, Riri is shown as sort of being deceived by the Hood. She links up with him and then he starts, I want out. No, you're not getting out. Blah, that kind of classic plot. It's so, what are we doing here? Oh, and that's not even talking about the fact that the catalyst to this entire thing is that she gets kicked out of MIT, which doesn't make sense. In the first movie, it didn't make sense because they got mad at her because she was using student resources to make her suit or whatever. Fine, get her in trouble, yada, yada. But to kick out a hero follow me here, guys. A black female hero who fought along the literal like Wakanda of Wakanda, like Wakanda of Africa, like in a global war, and also was capable of inventing that actual Iron Man armor level suit that she gets at the end. You're just gonna boot her out?
Yep.
No, like no, I'm sorry. No, I don't believe any of this.
Even saving the world isn't enough to get a bank loan, you know? And
Oh my, don't even.
because the racism.
Oh my God.
You know,
Oh my
it's just
God. I
systematic
know.
racism.
I know it. And it is 100%. That's what they're going for. But like you said, Cider, everybody's sort of over it. Everybody's sort of, even even more so than the hyper left crowd that they were advertising to, who we know oftentimes doesn't, put their money where their mouth is. They were trying to sell all this stuff to the normies, but the normies are over it now. So this thing is, I know this thing has got like, I know this is going to be really, really bad. Not just that trailer stuff, releasing it with Superman, but they had to trot out Ryan Coogler for this. Like for this trailer, for this walkthrough, he's only a producer, guys. And he's only a producer by virtue of he handled the character in Wakanda Forever. So you kind of ask him like, hey, are we keeping it consistent? Did you have any plans for her character? He's not sitting there writing it. And so you have Ryan Coogler, who's coming off of a giant win with Sinners, which everybody loves. It's blowing up at the box office. And you go, hey, he's Ironheart. Yeah, it's so transparent. It's really, really bad.
And what's that, Nerdigans?
Well, I was going to say, if Marvel was smart, and they're not, because they're not like Sony, who got an incredible team for Spider-Verse. They could have actually saved the character and made her better than the comics, gave her an actual story, could have done something really cool with it.
Yeah.
Gave some actual representation for Black girls, like someone to look up to. But no, you had to go this route because Miles Morales, a lot of Black kids look up to him. They like that there's a smart Black kid that works hard to be. He is a smart Black kid that goes to school and has, both of his parents there, and he, worked hard to become a hero. He wasn't.
No, he
it
didn't.
wasn't given. He wasn't given to. It really wasn't given to him. Like, yeah, he got bit by the spider. I mean, he was bit by the spider, but like he still kind of had to work for it a little bit more to get the reputation. That's what I mean.
Check this out. I'm going to be really honest with you because understandably, you are not wrong if you are looking at Miles in those movies, the Across the Spider-Verse and the Spider-Verse.
That's what I was just referring to as that.
That Miles is exactly what you're saying. He does have an arc. He does have to struggle. He does have to fight. God knows what's going to happen in that third movie if it ever comes out before the heat death of the universe. But that's what we've seen from him there. The character himself, so there's a reason all of the adaptations you ever see of Miles, whether it's video games or the Spider-Verse movies, or I guarantee eventually when he gets into the MCU, it always only adapts that very, very first arc with his uncle. Because after that, after Marvel, again, realized like, oh, people are actually into this. They really like the concept of Miles. Remember at the time, he was the only Spider-Man. There was none of this, Spider-Man and Spider-Man. It was just like, he's Ultimate Spider-Man because Peter's dead. We still got our Pete Spider-Man over here in 616. We all understood that. But after they realized he was super popular, Miles started getting the Kamala treatment, right? Like the Kamala Khan treatment, which is he started getting put everywhere. Even in his own books, he became the leader of the only super team in the Ultimate Universe. Peter Parker came back from the dead just to give him his blessing. I'm not even kidding. Check this out, Nerdigans. Peter dies. It's a big old thing. We get Miles. Miles is Spider-Man for like 3 or 4 years on his own. One good story. The rest sort of go downhill. But then they, out of nowhere, say, Peter's back. And he shows up to his house and he's like, hey, can I get my web shooters and my, suit back? But you can still be Spider-Man. It's cool. But I need to take back my life. And then he just goes, they talk for a second. And then he goes, you're doing great. And he leaves. They don't say why he's back. We don't see him again. They literally bring him back just to go, you're great, Miles, and leave. After that, we go to Secret Wars, which was supposed to be this giant event. Marvel hasn't had a crisis, right? Like they've never reset their entire history. So that was what this was going to do. But they chickened out at the end for whatever reason. So the only change that comes out of Secret Wars is that Miles is now established as having as being like born on Earth 616. Like now he's an Earth 616 character. From there, they go, oh, you're going to be on, you know, the Champions, which is like, okay, cool. A teenage super team with Kamala and whatever makes sense, even if it's a little rushed. But then they went, oh, and then you're going to be on the Avengers. You and Kamala and Nova, Sam, are going to be the other half of the Avengers opposite Thor, Vision, and Captain America, which admittedly at the time it was Sam and Jane, but still, you don't put your rookie pitcher up on the all-star team without experience, especially if they're 12. And so, yeah, Miles, like that's what I get bummed out because when people say, yeah, Miles is good representation, because it's like, not really. Like, it's kind of insulting what they've done, like how little depth they want to give him, right?
Yeah, they have potential. Like he has like the potential of like a Static Shock in a way.
Yes.
But like they just waste it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I've long, like, I liked when they first introduced Miles. I thought as a narrative, it all made sense. The way Pete died, the way Miles came into the scene. I liked all of that, but it's like what I said. The second they knew everybody liked him, they can't give him anything that will make him even remotely bad. He literally had his own clone saga, and it ends with him adopting all of his clones as his brothers because he can't. And I'm just like, what the are we doing here? Right? So you are right. I don't even know how we got here, but it just makes me so bummed when people say Miles is good representation, because he's not.
So I had a plan to fix Riri from when she first showed up to like now, and it's really easy. Without her being like, because in the comics she's also very ill-tempered.
Yeah.
And so
she's from what I remember, like she was a complete bitch from what
there you
I
go.
saw.
That's the word. And so she of course, you know, brute forces her access to Tony's tech and things like that, and ends up finding her way into meeting Pepper, and they start like having girl power dunks on Tony because the hologram of Tony's consciousness is clearly not cool enough to run with two women. And
I didn't know if you were going to bring that up, but to what we were talking about earlier, I just realized this. Riri did the whole fuck the old mentor. He's only going to like sort of come back into the game. Because at that time, Tony died and he was the AI. And in that book, because she was she was doing the girl boss thing where every time AI Tony would say like, hey, check the repulsors or whatever, because he knows, she would go like black girl magic or whatever. And it was just like obnoxious. And then it wasn't until Tony was like, I see that like the future is in good hands. Maybe there's a reason for me to, you know, come back and help lead it. I'm going to go get my body back. And I'm just like, yeah, it's all linking together. Keep going.
Well, this is what the plan was, is that Tony's dead, and similar to how Batman has the Nightfall protocol that deletes everything, Tony has his like Starkfall protocol that spreads his knowledge out. So
that would be cool.
What happens is these like the T-spheres that you saw from Mr. Terrific would find Riri Williams and play the hologram of Tony saying, hey kid, you meet a grade point average. That means that you've got the aptitude to be the next Iron Person, whatever you are. So come on down to Stark Academy and prove yourself worthy. Willy Wonka that shit. Go full Willy Wonka, then turn it into a tournament anime.
I like this.
She has to outbuild the other candidates. And so she has a full tournament so that at the end of it, she stands supreme, having demonstrated why she's capable of taking over Tony's role and learning along the way what Tony took 40 years to figure out, that you're not a god.
Right. Yes.
You know, and that's there. You're done. Now you've redeemed Tony. You've passed the brand, and she's not a complete idiot asshole that ends up with all this stuff. So
and it's still paying reverence to Tony, right? Because it's like I couldn't have actually gotten to this point without his support and the fact that he was looking out for next the next generation.
My
The
my
only-
closing line was though, Spencer.
yeah.
for
Oh,
this,
yeah.
Was Pepper saying, "Hey, so we decided we're going to market you as Iron Girl," and instead Riri walks up, she erases the girl part and draws a heart there, and Pepper goes, "Yeah, okay, that's easier to market," and that's
I love that. Oh my god, that's really good. I actually kind of really like that's like a cute MCU joke that we used to get. That's on the level of the joke that I still actually do like from, is it Homecoming, when Tony shows Peter the suit and he's like, "Thank you, Mr. Stark, but I'm not ready for that yet, but I'll let you know when I am." And he goes, "All right, kid, like you keep doing it." And Peter walks away with Happy, and then Pepper opens the door and she's like, "Where is he? Is he coming out?" And he's like, "No, but I'll come, don't worry." Because he was like totally getting ready to announce him as an Avenger. I love that. I actually really like that joke, Cider.
And that's what I mean is that like you had a lot of opportunity with Riri to flip the script, to take what Tony had struggled with his entire existence and conquer that in her first arc, so that her journey is earning the trophy of being Iron Person, Iron Heart, Iron Girl, whatever, inheriting the Stark legacy, as opposed to enforcing herself as the inheritor, intruding upon Tony's legacy and demanding that legacy kneel to her. Again, so that way she doesn't become Iron Man. She doesn't inherit anything from him. She's the standalone super genius that could have done it all along, but she didn't have the money because of systematic racism. And it's so annoying that's what they boil Riri down to, is some activist asshole that can turn a wrench. That's it.
Like you could do her story so much more effectively and make her so much like better if you just said Riri, her like she's at MIT, but she's having struggles with money because it's fucking expensive. Because it is. If she doesn't get all the right, grants or whatever, scholarships, it's prohibitively expensive. So you could have had her struggling with all that instead of, the man is keeping me down because I'm black for some reason.
And not only did Riri Williams steal her Iron Man suit, she also stole her Iron Heart name from an Asian porn film. So
they absolutely did, which is, the suit looks really good in that film. I really
much better.
I really hate and also love how much better adult like parodies of superheroes, their suits kind of end up looking pretty baller. Not just like the Axel Braun ones over here, but like that Ironheart one. There is a very, very, very egregious Mega Man one that I do not recommend anybody go watch because it is
a lot happening.
There's a lot happening, but they do the first 6 Robot Masters from Mega Man 1. They all look really, really, damn it, I didn't even catch that one, but they do, and they look really, really good. Like not bad or not even like good cosplay, like an actual, this was a movie that sort of like the 90s Fantastic Four or the Captain America, where they got like the really accurate costumes, even if they looked a little wonky. The only thing I'm going to put on my producer hat, the only thing I would personally want to see, and of course it's up to you in your Ironheart tournament treatment, is I think it would be interesting if Tony picks whatever 5, 10, 15 of them, and when he brings them to the academy and starts teaching them, he gives each one of them like an old suit, right? Like this is your learning.
Oh, yeah, because he had the Ironheart. He had the Iron Man suits, the various ones. He had like an Iron.
He has like
army,
like 40. Well, in the movies, he had like that big army, but just by virtue of everybody wanting to use that trope a lot, he's always got like 7,000 suits sitting around in like the comics or the movies. So you go, and that would have been a cool bit of fan service because you could have given, the first Iron Man suit from like Iron Man 1. You could have given Iron Man 3 suit. You could have gone into the comics.
There it is, Iron Man Academy. That's a
I'd
t-shirt.
be in for it.
That goes on a t-shirt. So easy.
That does go. Like it's Avengers Academy or whatever over in Disneyland. They're going to.
You remember in
that
Gen V, that Gen V,
the spin-off of The Boys. Yeah,
they had the statue of Homelander out front there with with all that. So you have that original Iron Man armor as right there at the entrance doing its pose, or maybe it's got like the repulsor arm extended.
Let me ask you this, Cider. Do you do the first Iron Man suit, like that one when he like goes back to the Middle East and kind of just whoops everybody's ass, or do you do the one where he was like that he built in the cave?
In the cave.
Yeah,
that's the one in the cave.
That's what I was thinking.
Because Yosef, I think that's his name, Yosef, the character he was stuck with, was a teacher. If you remember, he was a professor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's why he was attending Stark's speech, and that's what they were talking about. I'm so sorry, I have it stuck in my head forever. But that character stuck out to me because I was like, okay, he's not a villager, he's not a farmer, he's an actual academic that ended up being recruited in order to do something here, and these guys misunderstood his expertise. So again, like that would be Tony's like full circle moment.
Yeah.
He opens an academy with that suit, symbolizing that guy's, pursuit of knowledge and how it affected Tony's ability to survive. And he sacrificed his life so that Tony could get out. So again, like they just don't think. They just don't think. They're more interested in that agenda punch. They want to make sure that they get those activists like rate hard and veiny before they address anything about the character.
Well, it's so. I was literally about to make this as my next, or not my next point, but as the next thing I was going to say. So that Iron Man Academy idea, I love that. It made me remember right now they do have this thing going on in Marvel Comics called Strange Academy, where Doctor Strange has opened an academy for multidimensional. Yeah, pretty much. Actually, yeah, it's pretty much a Hogwarts. But
Strange words. There we go.
Strange words. Oh, I don't know. Go to a doctor for that one. But in that book, you again, base idea of having an academy where these like older heroes teach the next generation. There's a lot we can do there, and you don't have to make it like virtue signally and obnoxious. But of course, in this Doom Academy thing they've been doing, that's where they've sort of shunted all of the YA bullcrap, the non-binary characters, the I've been oppressed characters, yada 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 yada. So even when I don't know if I'm refuting what you're saying or adding to it or like changing it slightly. It's like they don't think, but then in those moments when they do, they can't help themselves. They have to go that super hyper activist route.
Well, and again, like that's kind of what we're gonna keep running into. Like I said, Hollywood's a big ship. It's gonna take a while to turn around. But in the meantime, though, Miss Nerdigans, when the show is over, where do we find you?
You can find me on Nerdigans Inc. on YouTube, where we cover anime and manga every day. And something that I'm now doing is I'm doing live streams on Thursdays, and we're just doing it's like a chill, fun stream. We're going to be talking about like all the shenanigans that have been happening over the past week. And yes, I'm going to be ranting about One Punch Man tomorrow. I kind of have to. It's just, I'm probably going to be ranting about a lot of other things too. And I'm going to do some Q&A and stuff like that. On Patreon, patreon.com/PackerGirl. I'm debating if I'm going to be covering Ranger Reject anymore, because I'm really pissed off on how they bastardized Magadia and how they just bastardized that one of my favorite arcs in the manga. I hate it so much. Spencer, if you saw it, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, we talked about it. Yeah, I know exactly.
I'm talking about like this past week's episode. Like they.
Oh no, I haven't watched it yet.
Oh my god! But they didn't even include when Chidori and Magadia have the tea party. They cut that out.
But that's one of the funniest jokes. What are you talking?
Yes, they cut it out. Yes.
I don't know what they're doing with that show.
Oh god, they cut out so much content. It just it makes me so sad. Witch Watch, if you are not watching Witch Watch is actually good. It's very hit or miss in terms of adaptation wise, but man, when it's hitting, it is hitting really good. It's good. This is the last week for Dragon Ball Daima. I'm really sad that last week was Stephanie Nadolny's last episode. It might be final Dragon Ball content that she does outside of video games. But
I was gonna say at least we have the DLC because they've announced that. But that is sad. I was happy to hear her back.
But yeah, hearing her do Super Saiyan 4 was so good. Oh my god! If you have not watched it, go watch it. This week is the series finale for the dub, and what I'm going to do is, because of Nozawa's performance being so badass, I'm going to do a compare and contrast between Sean Schimmel's transformation sequence and Nozawa's to see if he could live up to it. We're also covering Vigilante Boku no Hero Academia Legals, which we just had the Stendhal, aka the Birth of Stain. It did what it needed to do, but like I wanted more from it, if that makes sense. It just did like it did. I was hoping there was gonna be like more distortion, if that makes sense. Yep. But anyways, we're covering Fire Force season 3, which has been a disjointed letdown. That's probably the best way to explain it. It's so bad. I'm glad more people are noticing how bad it's been animation wise. But anyways, on the bounty side, Spencer and I've been talking about this, but there is something amazing happening in the Windbreaker community. These trans activists, the ones that have been going after characters like Bridget and Giselle and Yamato, they've been going after a character called Tsubaki.
Giselle. Oh wow, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, and the entire community has united against them, and it's just an incredible thing to see. I swear, nature is healing, and if we see it happen in the case of like Ironheart, that will be very interesting to see. Because I don't remember if it happened with Echo or not. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it happens with Ironheart, if there's like a universal dislike and a universal pushback like we're seeing with these activists.
It happened. Well, it was less, everybody said Echo was bad, but nobody watched it, which I think kind of speaks volumes to it, right? I think me and Jacob and like Comics Division were the only 3 people who watched that show.
But yeah, we finished the article on the trans activists that were coming out and saying that Tsubaki was trans, and that was pure toxicity. Oh my God, that was pure brain rot. Oh my God, Spencer, you will see it. And
I'm excited.
But yeah, we're going to work on the article with about the unity that's happening, because we figured that because of how incredible this is, we need to have both, so we can have the positive and toxic side of things.
Exactly.
All right.
But anyways.
All right, and Spencer, when the show's over, where do we find you?
Yeah, as always, guys, you can find me on boundingintocomics.com. We're putting up new news every day. We've got some really good stuff up right now. Obviously, I have Nerdigans articles in the pipeline. I also, this is to you, Nerdigans, and to the readers, but I know that Nerdigans has had some articles submitted since last week. I was going to edit them last week, but literally after the stream last week, I got this weird weekend cold. As you guys can probably hear from my laughs have been a little raspy, but I had to take it a little easy, but I'm back in the saddle. So I'll be getting those all out. Yeah. Go check out Bounding into Comics. Go check out what Nerdigans has going on. Go check out whatever Cider lets you know going on. And Nerdigans, just real quick, isn't that such a cool full circle career moment like we were talking about for Stephanie Nadolny, where she brings Kid Goku and Dragon Ball to the United States. She gets ousted out because of Chris Sabat and the Funimation cults, clickiness and bullshit. Fan support brings her back, and then she gets to canonize the fan favorite form that everybody has been waiting for forever. I don't know. I'm really happy for her.
I love it. And you've seen her do Super Saiyan 3, how much deeper it is this time around compared to GT. And then
GT, yeah.
Yeah, and then they were, oh God, that Super Saiyan 4 stream, it was guttural, it was deep, you had that Uzaru realness happening there. I wish the transformation had more Uzaru in there, but at least we heard it in the scream.
You can't be complaining about Super Saiyan 4's design in 2025. Nerdigans, I love you. That that design came out in 1997.
But yeah, I still need to send you the rest. I need to go through the rest of the early parts of Dragon Ball Daimا's dub to make sure I didn't miss anything. But the rest of the dub's localization is so far it's fine. It was just it was those ones that I sent you with the cooked and oh my God, I still can't believe those memes were up in there. Oh my God. Why they did that, I do not know, but
it's always Americans too, man. When we localize it, and honestly, this doesn't just apply to anime. It happens in actually other works, movies, big real movies, if you will, for lack of a better term. We just love inserting memes, and I don't know why. I genuinely don't get it.
But out of all things though, Dragon Ball, which actually had a decent dub for Super, from what I know anyway, with Super and with Kai, there was moments, and I showed you the screenshots, that there was moments where it reverted back to 90s Funimation Dragon Ball Z, and I was just
it's got to be a case of they've got multiple translators, so one person had that episode, this person had that episode, and it's 2 guys in the office still hold to the old code, while all 12 of the others love ifunny.com. What
modernizing?
And it was only the blue. It was only the third Demon Realm characters that did it too, which are blue. So it's like, are they racist? Like, what is going on?
They're trying to avoid a racism.
Well, and that brings us to the end of the show, guys. Make sure you check out when we air this again. As we said, Jacob will be back. We'll be doing a retro show. And as always, guys, good luck out there.
This doesn't feel the same. I sat down to rewatch that Archer in green, but something felt off like a scene swept clean. No call to rise up, no fight against the crown, just some hollow action and glossed up renown.
He once spoke fire about kings and chains. Now it's gone like it never came. He used to say no king.
Now it's a blank cut scene.
Now it's a blank cut scene.
What's been deleted now? What's been deleted now? Why does it feel so tame? The rebel's voice is down, erased without a name. What's been deleted now? Did someone shift the frame? They say it's just a cut, but it don't feel the same. I searched for the speech where he vowed to stand against all the tyrants and take back the land. But streamers go quiet and edits slip through. Sanitized history, now nothing feels true.